Hello and welcome back to Seddon and Laceys Comic Stash, and we are going back to the movies. We are going to be covering the latest of the Marvel Wonderverse in Doctor Strange and the Madness of Multiverse. But before that, normality must come back and be resumed. So first things first, that over there, Seddon. I forgot to do my introductions. There you go. I'm Lacey, and it's been a while. How are we
It
all?
has.
Been good? Keeping well? Good to know.
How's the weather been? All those English things that you ask when you haven't seen something. How's Auntie Jane? Join? How's the
How's
family?
Maple?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone died? I don't know. That's the conversation I'd have with my mother.
So, before we go into our corner, I'm going to bring up something. We had a real live meetsies on Comic Book Day.
We did, and you know it is. It was odd. I was really quite excitable about it. I think at the time on social media, but like it was like because we've spent a lot of time on here talking to each other, haven't we? And of course, like in
Yes.
modern day world, like on sort of Twitter and Facebook and WhatsApp, blah 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 blah. But it felt like the good old days where you actually meet someone in person. And you had me up your way, didn't you? If you'll pardon the expression.
I had you in my ends.
Yes, yes.
Um, you made your way to the fine city of Norwich.
And for anyone international or anyone UK based who've not been to Norwich, I do like Norwich. It's a lovely place.
Yes.
I mean, not all of it. There's some
Yeah.
bits that ain't so nice, but say that about anywhere. But yeah, I think it's a lovely place to go.
So we had a beautiful day for it. It was fucking lovely and sunny.
It was,
We
wasn't
went
it?
comic book shopping.
Well, hang on a second. Now, it
I
was
went
lovely
comic
and
book
sunny.
shopping.
No. It was lovely and sunny when I got to Norwich. When I
Oh
left my
yes.
house in Ipswich and I walked to the train station, I got absolutely pissed on. And I was like a drowned rat on the train. And I was the whole way I was thinking, because I'm not grown up enough to look at weather. Who would? Like, there's so many other things to look at. But all
Did
the
you look out
way
the window?
well, no, because I was looking down at probably my phone playing a game or something like that. But the whole way I'm thinking, oh please, like when I get to Norwich, don't let this come with me because it could be a washed out free comic book day. But yes, yes, as you say, we went to the comic book shop and one of us bought stuff and the other one didn't, which is weird. I mean, there was a couple of things on my list that I had kind of planned to pick up new releases that week, but because it was the weekend, it sold out, which is a shame. But and I did obviously have a little scurry through the back issue bins, but there was there was anything I didn't. There was loads of stuff I wanted, but there was just kind of nothing that essentially jumped out into my hands. So yeah, I was a bit weak on the actual free comic book day stuff, but you wasn't, were you?
No, I went in and I picked up my issue of Killing Time Free because, of course, that was the main reason of me going in.
Yeah.
Also picked up a really cool smaller book version of the first 12 issues of Four.
Well,
Um,
we saw these on the shelf, didn't we? And we were both quite
yeah,
enamoured with them because we went, "What a brilliant idea!" I mean, I reckon. Do you reckon they're about 2/3 of the size of a comic book, like in
yeah,
dimension? Because
they're about the same size as a manga book. So the
yeah,
standard manga sort of is slightly bigger than your usual paperback.
yeah, and of course you're going to get like reduced panel size and things like that. And for your art purists, I'm sure some people will say, "Well, I want it at the size that it was drawn." But I just thought, what a great idea to introduce. Certainly, all the ones we saw were some kind of more like the origin stories and like
Yeah.
the first 12 issues or 13 to 24 and things like that of series that you wouldn't get any other way. And it just looked like it was in such a beautiful kind of easy to carry around readable format. I mean, instantaneously I thought, what a great way to get kids into it, because I think they'll recognize it, as you say, from the more manga size and the more manageable format that it's in.
Yeah, so that was bought. that's going to be my train book till I've finished it, and then it may get donated to the boy, or stay here and let him read it here. It depends on how much I like it when I read it.
So he's going
I
to say
did
depends
go
how
in-
much you like him when you read it. Yeah.
I did pick up some freebies, mostly stuff for the boy. Actually, I was the nice, benevolent parent.
You was. In fact, I even remember a beautiful moment as you went to the counter and actually inquired, kind of, what have you got for kids? And I was just like, I'm 50% proud of you right now. I'm 50% going, fuck him, get shit for yourself.
But yeah, so I got the boys some stuff. I got a couple of bits for me for freebies, which all but one of them I've read, and the others have gone back to the boy anyway because he gets them in the long run. But yeah, it was a very fun little jaunt to Abstract Sprocket. As I said at the time,
Yeah.
I'll have to go your way next time to see what it's like up yours. But
it's the first time I've been to Abstract Sprocket up there, and it's a really lovely little shop. What I was thinking of doing, and here you go. This is what you want when you're watching YouTube, is people maybe arranging their stuff. I was thinking maybe next time we go for a little joint down to Colchester way, and we go to the comic shop that I spent most of my life buying comics from. And to date this, because this will release on Sunday, Colchester's just been announced it's going to be a city. So let's get up there, and that might be a nice next day out for us.
ooh, I do like Colchester, and they do have Taco Bell.
Exactly. For you more than me, but yeah, I think that might be quite nice to kind of go and do a jaunt back to some of the stuff we covered in our Origins show. You can see, and the premises has changed over the years. In fact, it's had multiple different premises, but yeah, it's been a good while since I've physically been in there. So I say we go with that instead.
I feel that will have to be done.
Yeah.
Though, what else we did whilst on our joint of Norwich, went around another one of your little enjoyment factors, board game shops.
We did. And again, I should remember the name of it because I could have name checked them. But Norwich do have a really good
Games.
Yeah,
Athena Games was the first one, and then there's the game table was the second one we went to.
So Athena Games is a cracking board game shop. I mean, I often go there, or probably pre-pandemic when I was buying a lot more games. And yeah, the board game calf, for want of a better term, that's kind of cropped up in that time, and that looked really nice as well. So yeah, if you're into your board gaming, get your asses up to Norwich. It's a great home for it.
And then we did what all good dates should end up in: going to the pub. And
yes.
For however much will I tried, I couldn't break you to actually have a beer.
You did try. I must admit, I often get criticised for this at work, for how much I talk about when I go for a wee, I must let everyone know. But my God, when I left you to get the train home, I think I drunk about 85 pints of Coke because I was going alongside you and your pints. And I think I spent most of my train journey back just pissing, going back to my chair and going, nope, need another one. Yeah, I was 90% Coca-Cola by the end of the day.
And the other thing we've got to throw up to give it its props, especially for me, as I'm not like you, one of you vegetarian types.
Oh,
the vegan doner kebab place that's on Magdalen Street, if you're round our way. But as a non-vegan, fuck me, it was banging, and their hot sauce, was beautiful.
Well, if there's ever an advert for going to Norwich, we've given it there. I mean, what 4 amazing things. They've got a good comic book shop. They've got great board games there. They've got an amazing... And again, I'm with you. I mean, it's the first time I'd had a vegan kebab. And I'm not going back to meat kebabs anyway. But to be honest, if I had a choice between that and what I would have used to have had as a meat kebab, I'd pick that. I thought it was bloody lovely. And of course, you live there. And that's a big selling point.
But I think it's time for a jingle.
first up for me, and I am going to jump in because actually it touches on part of the story that of our free comic book day experience, because I read most of my free comic book day stuff via digital, so like Kindle have some of the free comic book day stuff, so to Marvel Unlimited. But you said that there was one free comic book day issue that you hadn't read yet. There's two, because I stole one of them from you, didn't I?
Oh, yes, you did. Forgot about that
so
one.
There we were in the pub, and we were going through kind of the bounty that you'd picked up, and one of them that you picked up was one that I actually forgot was coming out, but I was really kind of keen on. And so yes, I snuck it away in the night, but I have promised to send it back. And you might not thank me for what I'm going to say next as well. The fact that I stole it from you, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, and it's called the Bone Orchard Mythos Prelude, and so it's written by Jeff Lemire, a writer I really like. But him and Andrea Sorrentino, who drew this one, and a couple of other artists, have kind of all grouped together. And over I think it's a 3-year publishing plan. The plan is to release a number of series in this joined horror universe. And they won't all necessarily be into. So I don't think I think the idea is that you would be able to read them separately, but actually, if you read them all together, you'll see kind of crossover points and you'll see bits in it. I mean, this is short. It's a free comic book day one, so it is short, but it is short and it is wonderful. The art in this is beautiful. The story, whilst being simple, is, I'm going to say, affecting in that way that I like modern horror to be. So it's just it's eerie more than jump scary. But if this is, and I was going to be jumping into this anyway because again, writer I like, genre I like. But after reading this, then an absolute top drawer whenever they release stuff. And this was Image Comics. Now I think some of this stuff is going to be through Image, but I think some of it's also going to be published through. He has his own Substack, which is something I'm not massively familiar with, and I haven't really jumped into yet. But I think some of it will be released digitally first, and then like the print copies will come out afterwards. But yes, Bone Orchard Mythos, 2 thumbs up. And if there's a lesson for anyone out there, make sure you steal someone else's free comic book day, because that'll be the best one that's released on the
day. So I'm going to jump in with one now from the freebie day. Spider-Man versus Venom. This was very short, but fucking pretty. I think it's going to be a dual run where I think it's going to be half of them are Venom stories, half of it being Spider-Man stories. And at some point, the two shall meet in that way that these things happen. Full face turn for Venom. He is very much a face in this and going after other symbiotes. Amazingly fun bit where there's a symbiote as a American style postbox, just trying to chomp on people's arms as they're putting post in.
So I read this as well, and just and again possibly because of my plugged inness a little bit more with Marvel. So the full face turn thing, and I'm and this is high on my list because I've only read about 10 issues of it, but Donny Cates does a really long run or a relatively long run on Venom, and that really is kind of making it's and what I've read's brilliant, so I can't wait to get back to more of it. But Donny Cates does this run on Venom, and it's very good, very kind of expansive story. But when he leaves, a new series comes out, and that series is currently running. So you know how this is split into like Spider-Man and Venom, like almost 2. The first part of it is the new creative team for Amazing Spider-Man, and the second part of it is the current creative team for Venom. So there won't be a limited series. It is basically just an advert for the 2 series that are running concurrently. Okay. But I am totally with you on the letterbox. There's because that's John Romita Jr., who has over the years probably drawn every major character there is and drawn them wonderfully well. And I do have fond memories from him when I was growing up, first coming into Spider-Man, and he's not skipped a beat. This is absolutely wonderful. And the bin doing what it did reminded me immensely of the art style that they used to have a long time ago in the X-Men comics when they did the Inferno storyline. And so I'm really enjoying it because of that. And I'm going, oh, what a nice throwback, what a nice touchback. And then, and I don't know like whether this really kind of landed for you, but in the Free Comic Book Day, the last page reveal of the Spider-Man story is a lass called Madeline Pryor, who was from the Inferno storyline. And I'm like, yes, you've got me, creative team. I'm coming in for this ride. So yeah, lots of sort of kind of juicy old school goodness and tie-ins. So yeah, I'm 100% in on picking up this run. Although I say picking up this run, I'll probably do it on Marvel Unlimited when the issues come on there.
Yeah, I know that was the one when Will was here last week, and that was the one that was at the top of the pile.
Yeah,
that was the one he went, I'm having that, and I was like, yes, that is one for you. I've read it, so yes, fill your boot. Have you got any more for your things? I've got another two for my.
The only other one that I can remember, and we joked about this before the show, because I'm sure I read 5 on Free Comic Book Day, but I can only remember 3 of them, which probably says a lot about it. I read the other. I've got 2. I've just remembered what the other one was. But the one that I was going to pick up was the. I would say a bit of a preamble for what will be the next big Marvel Comics crossover, which was X-Men and Avengers, which is going to lead to, I'm going to say Judgment Day, which is what I think the event's going to be called, which is X-Men, Eternals, and Avengers having a big summer crossover. I won't go on to it for very long because it was fine. I think that's as far as I go with it. The writer of this issue isn't the writer who will be doing the crossover. Was it a morsel that got me particularly interested in what's to come? I'll be honest, no. But I think I'm not the world's biggest crossover lover anyway. And the art in some places was nice, but yeah, Free Comic Book Day for the big companies is all about that, isn't it? It's putting that comic in front of people and going, come back, there will be a big crossover.
This is the big thing this year.
Yeah, and will I read the
DC did the same, didn't they? Because they gave away the first part of
Dark Crisis. And you know, I said the one
I haven't read yet.
The one that I've forgotten. I'll come to that after you've gone again. But yeah, I mean, as I say, like I think maybe it would be more attractive to maybe an audience that isn't quite so burnt out on the big stories. But I say all that, there is some interesting stuff in there. They talk quite a lot about this theory that the Eternals were there to not necessarily prevent mutations, but that whole shtick, and you'd have seen it in the movies, to stop sort of deviance, and then talking about how mutants and that kind of part of evolution potentially being that sort of thing. And as I say, there's some nice art in it, but it's effectively a prolonged advert, and maybe just a story that I'm not hugely into or hugely interested in. So yeah, left me a little bit cold, I'll be honest.
Yeah. My next one was the Stranger Things issue for Free Comic Book Day, which, I hate to say it, wasn't a massive fan, and it will not get me back to read more Stranger Things stuff. The art is okay. It's not amazing, but the story was just, there was just nothing to it. I mean, there was no sort of hook to go and find out more when this run starts or anything like that. It was just, it seemed very much like the sort of comic that you would get in a newspaper at the weekend, where it's got a page and that's that sort of old school, and this is your week story.
Or one when you went to a takeaway shop, and I don't know, like they'd have a toy and you'd have a free comic book, and actually it was like you or me had just knocked out quickly in the back and stuffed it in. That
Yeah.
sort of level of story, yeah.
Yeah, so that I wasn't massively impressed with. And then as part of that as well, it had a spin-off from Hellboy, which wasn't Hellboy. It was I can't remember what it was because I don't have it with me because it's at the boys. But again, that wasn't anything to grab me either. So yeah, that one not so good.
So you say Hellboy, and my ears prick up, but yeah, shame.
It was in the It was in the Hellboy universe. It wasn't actually Hellboy though.
No, I mean
it's
like
a new character that they've started.
I think at some point, like we'll probably get to, or even try and brush onto Hellboy stuff and things like that. One of the real strengths for me of the Hellboy universe is that he actually managed to create loads of characters within that didn't necessarily get too much screen time in the movies. And I think that's one of the real strengths of it. It is the extended universe, but it's probably a real strength when it is written by Mike Mignola, but probably not so much necessarily if he lets other people play with the toys, I guess.
Yeah. What is your last?
It is the Dark Crisis, and I had kind of did that epiphany as I was talking about the Avengers one, and then you said it. So I read so this is DC's again next big crossover, and in the DC world of Crisis on Infinite Earth, Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, the next crisis is the Dark Crisis. I'm way behind on DC, and I'm way behind on everything, to be honest. But I am so out of touch with, I guess, what's happening in modern DC, unless it's Batman, that really I don't have necessarily much of a context as to why they're having a Dark Crisis or whether like this is going to be a big universe reboot. All I will say about it is it was really bland for me, but potentially it might have had elements where effectively, and this is what you get from it, is you find out the Justice League have been killed, which is, I believe, the start of the Dark Crisis. And when I say the Justice League has been killed, I believe Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman are now dead, and possibly a couple of others, yes. And this is kind of introducing what happens next. I think maybe other people to come in, which potentially could sound intriguing, but for a concept like that, I was just like, and I got to the end of it and I went, I don't think I'll pick Dark Crisis up because there's nothing in here that interests me now. What I will say is in about 18 years' time, when I get caught up with part of the actual DC universe from reading some of the single issues, maybe I'll be more invested in it. But yeah, a real damp squib for me. And probably I'm all crisis out. When they released Final Crisis, I felt like that was a line in the sand. You called it final, so but yeah, I wouldn't go out your way to get it unless you have unless you know you're going to get Dark Crisis. Then I would say probably get it because there might be a beat or two in that could be interesting or essential for the story to go. But yeah, don't go out your way to hunt that down.
Yeah, as I said with that one, I just sort of had a quick scan for it and looked at the back page. It had like the listing for how it's going to play out for the rest of the year, and I think it was going over like 37 issues over about 9 different runs, and I was like, this is the problem.
Do you know what though? There's one bit, and I'm with you. Like I looked at the amount of issues and went, no, like, and again, partially different. You know, we talk about like us having DC Universe Infinite. I could see it being a story that I would consume when everything's on there because effectively it is free, or you know, like you get your subscription, but effectively it is free. But if I was buying this in singles in the shop, my God, this would have to be fucking phenomenal for me to sign up for this many issues. One thing I will say is I've seen a little bit of a preview for what will ultimately be issue number 2, and issue number 2 looks really cool because it looks like it's a prolonged, almost issue-long fight scene between Deathstroke and Nightwing. Now that I'm in for, but I'm probably not going to sign up for the rest of it too much.
Yeah. My last one is one that was a free comic book day one back in 2016. Carnival of Souls. This intrigued me. It was on Comixology, and it is got an evil fucking clown on the front of it. So I
See,
was like, okay, I'm intrigued.
I'll probably hide at that point. I'll be behind the sofa going, no, not clowns.
So yeah, it is very much a prelude into what I think, by the looks of it, because I haven't been able to find it anywhere, is a full graphic novel. So I don't think it was done as issues. I think it was done as a whole story of this ancient Egypt clown god pharaoh who was possessed by his queen because the queen wanted the crown and all of the world because he just wanted to make a giant carnival. And he then becomes the ultimate evil talking skull that's got clown makeup on, devouring souls. I'm like, I can get behind this. So yeah, it's one of those. If I can find it anywhere, for a reasonable price, I would potentially pick up the full thing because it's just that right level of a bit creepy, a bit weird, and slightly evil.
It looks like there's some Kindle like versions of it, but yeah, I must admit I'm having a quick scan now, and I'm not seeing paper copies or trades necessarily there. But yeah, something to look in, and I've just seen the bloody clown. He's fucking horrible, Chris.
Yep, that's what dragged me in.
I'm not a fan of them in general, if I'm honest. Like of living creatures, they're second only behind spiders to the things that I'm both scared of and hate the most.
So,
I was going to say, well,
what you get freebies
before we do, before we go on to anything else. And by the magic of editing, I'm going to do a bit of a wibbly wobbly bit here because I've just remembered something before we go on from reading corner. It's not necessarily reading, but I just need to very quickly run away and I will be back. But it's something that that I got for my birthday, but it is comic related. So back in one tick. Now, I will say when I say this is something for my birthday, it was actually bought for me by my mother. Now, I say that as context, as when I opened it in front of my mother and I was quite pleased, she was kind of like, well, what's that then? So I'm guessing that my brother had the biggest hand in getting this for me, but comic related. And you can see behind me, I have pops and things like that, but and I do have some like figures sort of scattered around the house, but I don't really have much room for stuff, and I tried to keep it down to a bare minimum. But got this little lovely thing, lovely little Nightwing from McFarlane Toys, and I must admit, as figures go, it's bloody marvelous, and I think I will actually look into the McFarlane Toys range a bit more for their DC ones because a quality little figure. And just to sucker me in, on the side of it, you get the third of a Batmobile. And if you get the other two figures in the set, you can create the Batmobile as well. The bastards. But no, it was a lovely little birthday gift. And you know, like as I say, like I think we talk about all the stuff that we amass in our life, and certainly, like we've said before, comic books take up a lot of space. And I think you do often have to be sparing with what you bring in your house. But love that as an addition, and partially because I bloody love Nightwing. So good on me, brother. Stroke my mum. Yeah.
Yeah, because I do remember us being in HMV and you seeing those old school X-Men figures, and I thought that was going to be your downfall.
Yeah, and there were some old school Fantastic Four ones as well, weren't there? And yeah, and it could be, you know, I could see it easy being like that spiral where you go, I want them all. But yeah, I think
who needs food?
Well, and also who needs space? You know, like if you've seen those sort of like hoarder programs, haven't we, where people can't get out of their house anymore because they've blocked themselves in. I'm probably not a million miles away from that, but yeah, I mean, McFarlane's been doing like statues and toys for ages, and I've often looked at some of the stuff that they do admiringly, because I just think they put that little bit of extra craft and quality into it, even in their figs. And yeah, spot on. And it'll be appearing behind me somewhere in there, no doubt, in the near future. Oh, actually, while we're doing comic book things that I've got behind me as well, I've also got my Action Comics #1 Funko Pop as well. But
Ooh.
I wanted the Batman one, but that had sold out, so I had to take Superman instead, obviously.
So, shall we go off to the cinema?
Let's get the
Grab your
popcorn out.
popcorn.
Let's go. Let's go.
You with your popcorn, I'll have my M&Ms, as we had this conversation before when we talked about cinema going.
Yep.
And this is the point where, if you've not seen Doctor Strange yet and plan on seeing it, we will be dropping spoilers.
Yeah.
So,
we talked about this before the show, and we kind of said, do we spoil or don't we spoil? And the honest truth is that I think in probably both of our reviews in this, all the stuff that we want to talk about it, we couldn't do it without touching on the spoilers. So yeah, this will be spoilerific.
You have been warned.
Yeah.
And if you've not seen it yet, this is on YouTube. It'll be here forever.
Yes.
Pause it.
Yeah. Go to the cinema right now. Yeah.
And then watch
I'm
it when
sure,
you come back.
I'm sure if you went to the cinema right now, you could probably just walk straight into a screen as well. Because I imagine like most sort of cinemas that have anything more than, let's just say, 10 screens are probably showing this, because it's Marvel on 9 of those 10 screens.
Was it every 20 minutes in Norwich? Well, it was last weekend anyway. So yeah, you can get to see it fairly easily.
Yeah.
That is your fair warning. So,
it's fucking mad when he dies, isn't it? It's mad when he dies.
Wonder and the Madness of the Multiverse, as it should have been called.
I'm kind of glad you said that, because I think, and I know this is a kind of starting in the middle, but I think there's a really strong case for that statement that you just said. I think when we step through this movie, and it is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but I think even if we were being a bit uber generous, this is about Wanda and Doctor Strange, isn't it? And I'm not saying there aren't other characters, but this is Wanda's story and Doctor Strange's story. And I would lean into this is Wanda's story and Doctor Strange's story. He's got a bit of a story as well.
And America.
Yeah. But I think
America and Strange are sort of equal beneath Wanda.
See, I'd have a sliding scale with America getting a much less of a story, because I think the Strange story is significant. But yeah, this for me is a Wonder movie, and spoilers stronger for it, I would say.
So we're not going to go full breakdown scene by scene, but what I am going to start with is the amazing first proper fight that we get. Not the one with the weird beast at the very beginning with the nightmare, but the giant octopus, who's basically King Star from Suicide Squad. That, as a set piece, fucking amazing. Amazingly filmed, really fucking cool. Second time I watched it in 3D with the boy.
Yep.
And fuck, that was pretty in 3D.
Well, I was going to say, I imagine the slice in the bus. Yeah, I can imagine that would be great in a 3D, because I saw it in 2D. We'd gone to I actually went on opening day, not because I designed it, but I was off work. We were going to somewhere where there was a cinema. I actually wanted to go and see The Northman, but that wasn't on for about 4 hours. So, and Doctor Strange was starting in 3.5 minutes in 2D. So I went, oh, let's go and see Doctor Strange then. But yeah, I imagine certainly bits like that must have been pretty cool seeing that in 3D.
Yeah, the depth in the fight on that. Because I'm not normally one for watching stuff in 3D. I'm not a massive fan of it. But again, it was that point of when we got to the cinema, that was the one that had literally just about to start. So I went to that showing. And yeah, the effects, even because I've seen it both in 2D and 3D, you can't tell they're done for 3D. They still look stunning normally.
Yeah,
but that 3D just gives it that little bit extra to some of the bits on there.
Well, you sat there going, "Fucking hell, there's a bus coming at me," and then you went, "Oh, I've seen this movie before. I know it doesn't come out the screen and hit."
Yes. But yeah, what were you thinking on that? Because I think that was fucking a really fun little fight.
I thought it was a really good action sequence as well. I mean, to give it a bit of context, you kind of come off of one of the early doors character moments with Strange, hadn't you? Strange had gone to the wedding of Rachel McAdams' character, whose name escapes me right now, but at least I got the actress's name right. And you kind of have a few moments in there which I guess get you up to speed a bit with where Doctor Strange is probably actually in the universe and like mentally, like where he's at. And then to cut into just, as you say, a really fun action scene, and done quite well. And actually, some of the stuff in that action scene instantaneously pays off some of the character stuff that they'd set up before.
Yeah. It was Christine. Christine's wedding.
Christine, yeah. And I think probably as we go forward, I might even touch back on this because this was one of the more Marvel-y moments for me. Now, don't get me wrong. The octopus eye design, not so marvelly. I think that's where we start to see the leanings of horror and the leanings of Sam Raimi. But I thought the way the action scene was put together felt quite Marvel. And, you sort of said the opening fight, which, the movie cuts straight into action, doesn't it? Like you get that kind of bang straight into establishing kind of an action scene. Someone is being chased. There is Doctor Strange is there. Doctor Strange is there. So you get a couple of these action scenes early. And I think these moments are really key to some of the reason why I enjoyed this movie so much is that it had enough Marvel moments in it as well as non-Marvel moments for me. And yeah, this was a real standout Marvel moment for me.
Yeah, and the thing that I did love in it is obviously the grotesqueness of pulling out a light pole, smashing it in the eye, and then pulling out the eye. I was like, you don't see that in many Marvel films. There's movie, the Sam Raimi-ness.
Well, this movie doesn't shy away from that, does it? And I'm not saying like you're going to go and see Hostel, but in context to any other Marvel movie, I mean, this is the bloodiest by far and the goriest by far, isn't it? And not even in a salacious way. It just felt really right for the tone, and probably because a lot of that helped establish the tone of this movie. And yeah, you get it in some of even the more Marvel-y scenes. It doesn't shy away. Sam Raimi goes, and then let's pull its eye out, and you just go, okay.
Love Wong in it, sort of still belating Stephen, because obviously Wong being the Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah. My one issue with Wong, should he not be like, more powerful as the Sorcerer Supreme than Doctor Strange?
So I guess there's that kind of thing that we'll touch on. Like we're comic book fans, and we're in a comic book fandom, and I think certainly I've seen some critiques on it that are talk exactly about that, but more so talk about Wong ain't the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange's, and all that sort of thing. And I think he's deliberately not very powerful, isn't he? I mean, in my head, and again, the story I tell myself is that, let's be honest, he's not really the Sorcerer Supreme, but ultimately, Strange isn't as a person or as a character at the stage where he can be. He is flawed. So almost Wong having it is whatever for the comic book fans, the Vishanti who would set up the Sorcerer Supreme. I think Wong is, because that's their fuck you, mate. Like, and he's weaker than you, but still he is less flawed than you. So that's why we'll put him in this position above you. But again, that's just my interpretation of it from how I feel about it. But yeah, he doesn't. He's not an all-powerful Sorcerer Supreme, is he? And in fact,
No.
in most parts, Strange seems much more powerful, and more often than not, Wong is kind of saying, "Go on, Strange, you do something." Like,
Yeah, it's very much a no. You fix it. Come on, off you go.
yeah. I'm
Um,
too busy being sorcery and supreme over here. You do that. You do that.
though I did love the bit in the diner where Wong basically slated Doctor Strange for not being the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah.
Like, no, I am.
And again, like I'm not saying that that's the way that that it's going to happen or play out long term, but for me, it feels like there's an untapped potential story there where you go, yes, like Wong's almost in on the joke. He knows he's not going to be the Sorcerer Supreme forever, but he knows that his role is to take the piss out of Strange and
Yeah,
assist him wherever possible to get him to be the person he needs to be if he's going to take this all powerful mantle up.
yeah. Obviously, we get our first slightly horror-y moment as well with the burying of the body in the flat in the roof.
So we mentioned, didn't we, in the opening action scene, one of the people, and I'm sure we will touch on it quite a lot, but America Chavez is being chased and is accompanied by a Doctor Strange, and that Doctor Strange, unfortunately, hits an untimely early death, doesn't he? But gets brought into our universe. And yes, I would say that the body of said Doctor Strange is somewhat treated with a bit of comedy at this point as well, isn't it? Like they're not really that bothered, are they? Just like, oh God, we've got to kind of put this body somewhere, and they just kind of bury it in a ceiling, don't they? I mean, I was going to say like a wall, but it's the equivalent of that.
And
I
Strange
felt
just going, "I've done it before."
Yeah,
as well.
and you know, like this is, and the movie's littered with this, and some of it is blatant. But again, the Sam Raimi isms coming in here, that kind of level of humor that you would get through the Evil Deads, that kind of macabre humor of going, I'm so matter of fact about this, and I will drop that in. Really, it's gonna be a strange sentence to say out loud. Really likes Dead Strange.
Yes, but more of that later.
And it is in around this, isn't it? It is, and we're not going to go through anything in minutia, but there's some sort of big story points. So we have been introduced to this new character, America Chavez. We don't know much at this point other than she was being chased. A Doctor Strange was trying to save her. There was lots of talk right at the beginning of going kind of, oh, we need you to sort of perpetuate. We need you to do this, that. So when she comes flying into our universe, and when I say our universe, I am aware we don't live in the cinema universe, but let's use our universe for the terms of this. Strange meets her in this fight, and this is where that kind of connectivity starts. And talk about the things that I liked. I really liked how Strange and America interacted. I thought they had a lovely little relationship. And it wasn't father-daughter or anything like that, but she's got a lot of years, or he's got a lot of years on her, I should say. But I don't know, they just really clicked very well for me. I found every scene in where they're in together talking to each other really watchable. I was like, yeah, more of this. I could sit and listen to these two talk to each other for a long time. And I think sometimes it was because of that age gap, culture gap, multiverse gap, as the case may be, but not done in a really bad way. It was done, it felt natural, I guess, is where I'm trying to get to on that.
Yeah, definitely comes out a lot more when they go through the multiverses later in the film.
Yeah.
Them two together are very much a driver of about 25 minutes of the film. It's just them two in together, and we'll go into it probably more in a bit, but when they're locked up in their cells in the multiverse, the interaction between them two is what sort of makes that bit. Wanda in her nice little country retreat.
Well, and the thing is, like, for anyone who's seen trailers, and like, did you actually watch any of the trailers of this beforehand? Because I know you're not a big trailer watcher.
The only one I saw was the one that was at the end of Spider-Man.
So we like the trailer had shown her, and they'd shown her in this really idyllic setting, and they'd shown Strange coming to see her to ultimately ask for assistance. And then there's a few action scenes that you see in the trailers later. Um, but as much as I knew she was in it, because of my love for WandaVision, I just loved, like, if you talk about having a mark out moment in the cinema, when we got to that scene, it is really early. I was just like, brilliant. I'm so glad to have this character back on my screen because it is a character that I think they've done fantastic work with. And yeah, as you say, what a beautiful setting for her to be relaxing in now. And they touch on the events of WandaVision, albeit lightly at first, don't they? And
Yeah.
but Strange has come to her for help because they've figured out that America is being and every time I say America, I want to say fuck yeah afterwards. So this is going to be ridiculous. They've figured out that like the entities that are chasing her are all linked to witchcraft. So you go and see the witch that the Scarlet Witch.
And the one thing that I did get on this, I was hoping it was going to be that little shack retreat that she had at the end of WandaVision. Because that would have then linked properly. Because the thing is, we knew that Wanda was going to be in something with Strange. Because at the end of WandaVision, it said, be back with Strange, and she has the death hold.
Yeah.
So I was just like, just a little bit of continuity, which normally when Kevin Feige's the one that's all over that sort of shit, I thought they may have had that bit of continuity. The house was the same. But then,
I guess it depends, though, doesn't it? Like, again, passage of time, and we'll pick up a little bit on this, I think, right towards the end, because again, like, I have read a lot of criticisms about it, and some of the criticisms I read, I think, are just sort of like wholly unfair, and it's a bit like, well, what happened between that panel and that panel? And you go, well, probably a year's worth of life, and shit happens in a year. And they're not like every movie doesn't start where the last one ended, and things will happen in between scenes.
Yeah, it's that thing of like just remembering that it's not literally, well, this is where that ended, so this is where this starts.
Yeah.
Though I absolutely love the moment that she drops herself in it, and that look of realization of when, you didn't tell me her name.
Yep. And you know the thing I loved about, and again I think that's a great moment, and something that's been done in lots of movies before. But the thing I liked about it is because the trailer was very suggestive that Wanda was good.
Yeah.
And I think we all had sneaking suspicions that Wanda might not always be good. But the fact that they didn't drag that out for 2 hours, I loved it. The fact that you go, like she kind of goes, oops, you've caught me. And then this beautiful idyllic scene, and this is one of my favorite moments in the movie, just drops, doesn't it? And you get to see this absolutely scorched earth from where the Darkhold, which is the thing that she's been reading, has been affecting everything around it. And the mood of the movie just changes right there, doesn't it? And again, we talk about Sam Raimi's influence, but this is where I feel like, and I want to clarify of going, this is not a horror movie, but it has so many tropes in it, and good tropes that it pulls from horror movies. And this is the point where I went, oh, good. We are back to a Marvel movie, and the ones I like best are the ones that borrow heavily. So they have their Marvel moments, but they borrow heavily from another genre and mix them together really well. And I saw that kind of scene change, and you saw her face change. And also her face change, her expression change. She didn't change head. It's like Wurzel Gummidge. And I just went, yes, I'm going to like this from this point onwards, because you've got me right here.
And the thing I also liked was her gear had changed. So it was a lot more goth.
Yes.
It was all sort of intertwined strips of black, not the solid red Scarlet Witch helmet, and it wasn't so much the bright red. It's a very much more crimson.
Yep.
It is, a lot more. I would say the word goth because it sort of just is my normal vocabulary, but it is that more sort of evil, more villainy
Yeah.
than the bright red hero-y reds.
But not horrifically bad, is it? It's not
No,
like
it's just
it's not
basically
over the top. It's just changed enough where you go, this isn't the person I saw 2 movies ago.
yeah.
Stuff's changed for her, and that visual appearance really adds to that for me.
Love the mass fight that we get when she turns up.
She goes she goes full hill quick, didn't she? Like, and
Yeah,
again, one of the things I liked about it is it only dwelled when I think that it felt like it was worth it. Whereas it doesn't, you don't need 40 minutes to go from, oh, she's a bad guy and she's going to do something bad. She goes, I want that person. I want America. Fuck yeah. And if you don't give it, like, if you think I've been bad up until this point, chasing this girl down, you ain't seen nothing yet. Don't push me to this. So they all kind of go back to let's say the magical fortress and they're all preparing, and then you just see the clouds roll in, and she just comes for him, doesn't she? And even
yeah,
then, I think again one of the things that I think makes Wanda a strong character in general, but a strong character in this is, I say she goes full hill, and she is full hill, but even then she does sort of say, "There's an easy road here." Now, you know the heroes aren't going to take the easy road, but I just loved how sinister she comes across when she's going, I know you're not going to do this, but effectively you are forcing me to do the bad stuff because I've given you an option. And just fantastic. Absolutely
yeah.
fantastic.
It's that point where she's like, I've been lightly doing this with a light touch.
Yeah.
I'm doing it the easy way. Now give it to me. And then I just love the subtleness of how she gets the shields down, of just whispering into the one guy's ear, "Run."
And even around that, like when she's up, raised up, isn't she? And all of I was going to say Strange's pupils, but let's be honest, they're going to be Wong's pupils because he's Sorcerer
Yep.
Supreme, isn't he? They are all combined working to do a shield, but there's just some, and again, maybe I'm getting a little bit too carried away on some of this, but there's the sort of things that I love in movies, just subtle stuff where she's up in the air and the way she's doing her magic, it's not all pomp and circumstance necessarily. Some of it is her doing like twitchy things with her fingers, and you can tell she's kind of trying to control them. And then, as you say, eventually she kind of gets into one of their minds, and just does this beautiful bit where she just goes run, and you're spot on. Like he runs, clumsies into a few people, and then she's in at that point, isn't she? She has broken down her defenses, and she almost. Well, and the thing is, like, I think there'll be a lot of debate around power levels and what should be this and what should be that. I felt like at this stage when she was coming for them, certainly for this early part of it, is and a movie I love, 2 movies I love, I'll put on here, of Halloween and Terminator. Now, admittedly, in them you've got 2 absolute hulking beasts of people, but the thing that made them so effective for me is the pursuer felt relentless. And in this part, that's what Wanda felt for me. It almost didn't matter whether she was the most powerful being in the universe or what. She just felt relentless. And it was like, I am coming for you. And no matter what you try, I'm going to keep on coming. And again, horror tone. Really set that horror tone for me.
Yeah, and you then get, like, obviously they all fall back. She comes in, and then Strange puts her in the Mirrorverse. And even in that, there was that slight horrorness to it of the spikes coming out and it shattering.
Yep.
And then her finding her way out through the reflections.
Yep.
And the ring moment.
Yes. Yep.
which was the one bit that I was expecting to freak Will out. Was the ring moment.
How was he? How was he during this movie? Because I mean, I must admit, when I was watching it as a grown up, or as I confessed earlier, scared of clowns and spiders. So I don't know if I really do count as a grown up, but I did think that this would be something that I would carefully consider, not necessarily the age of the audience as such, but what that person is like. So, like, in regards to whether they're 10 or 14, I think I would be very considerative of putting a child in front of this if I didn't know that they're okay with things that are maybe a bit darker and a bit edgier.
See, Will was fine with it. The only thing that he mentioned is what we'll obviously go on about later near the end is when we get Zombie Strange, and he was just like Zombie Strange was cool. He wanted a Zombie Strange toy. That's something they've not made any, so you can't have one. But yeah, he didn't mention anything about like anything else freaking him out. But after reading like Tokyo Ghoul, which he'd read, that's level of quite dark, and I know some of the anime stuff that he watches is a little bit on the darker
I think if you had a kid who's only ever watched things that are akin to like My Little Pony and stuff like this isn't the Marvel movie to introduce him to, is it?
No. I think this is one of those definitely that there will be some people that it will be too much for, even fucking grown ass adults it'll be too much for. But yeah, I think it's if know your audience if you're showing it to kids. But no, Will was fine with it. And this is one of the bits that I think is probably the bit that there's been a lot of stuff, especially stuff that I've read, is where a lot of people have got a bit miffed with. The fight then goes between Wanda and Strange, and then Chavez pulls up the multiverse style wormhole, bumps them through, and we go through a multitude of multiverses.
Yes.
Here is where if I was doing it, and spoilers, there are some cameos that come up later. This is where I would have fucking gone with the cameos. This is the point where I do the fan service, and you have Daredevil in the background, you have Deadpool in the background, you have fucking Tom Cruise as Iron Man in the Iron Man suit. You do your cameos and fan service moments here because it's the easy way to do it, and because if not, the whole trip through the multiverse, other than the paint one, it didn't look like anything we've not seen before.
As I say, during this sequence, and bearing in mind I've only seen the movie once, I don't, unless I missed something, there wasn't any direct Marvel stuff in there, was there? There wasn't any.
There's nothing. The only thing that people are mentioning that come out of it is obviously the paint one where they turn into paint. But there is no cameo. There is no nothing. There is, and the thing, even the universes, the multiverses they go through, again, other than the paint one, there's nothing that different about any of them.
See, I mean, like I think you're right. I think this will be one of 2 or 3 of the most hotly debated things on this, and I think this is where this and one other particular bit I think is where maybe I'm seeing a lot of the mixed reviews from, and I think maybe there's that kind of split in the audience of those who go, I go to these Marvel fucking movies to watch Marvel and for the big story to be furthered. Now, I don't think what you said there is necessarily a bad idea. I think what they did was a better idea, though. I think actually not littering it with stuff there, because we're really early into this cycle of movies. We don't need that, and we don't need that fan service yet. And I think actually, ultimately, it was quite a smart thing to not do that. Now, when I say quite a smart thing, probably not considered a smart thing if it's pissed off some of your audience who really want to see that stuff. But But then, having said that, I might have had one. I might have had one cheeky little in the background. You know, like you said, one of the things that was quite I thought of, like having Daredevil in the background, because we'd already seen Daredevil coming in Spider-Man, albeit like our Daredevil. But I mean, geez, like I mean, even cutting something. I mean, a lot of this would obviously come down to ownership, but shit, cutting Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher or something like that, just as a kind of wow, there really is a multiverse out there. But I didn't mind this sequence, and I think you know, when you go in with an idea for yourself as an audience member, I had, unfortunately, and we'll get to this bit in a minute, I unfortunately had some of the bigger reveals of this movie spoilt to me on Twitter. And I was actually going into it quite fearful that it was going to be all multiverse, cameos, fan service, this, fan service, that. And do you know what? I wanted a Doctor Strange story. I got, as we said earlier, a Wonder story as well, which I also wanted, but I knew she was going to be in it, but I didn't know how much. And I think I liked this bit more because this was, again, for me, this is a tentpole moment where they kind of went, this isn't all about multiverses here. I know it's called multiverse, but there's a story here, and yeah, we'll touch on this stuff, but this isn't what it's all about, kiddos. And I liked that. But yeah, I do take your point of going, there were some potential future teaser and wins that you could have done in this bit.
But this thing, to me, this is where you just, because if you'd have had, for argument's sake, Tom Cruise as Iron Man, because obviously that was the whole thing that was meant to be in the 90s, before the Marvel films actually did get going and it turned out to be Downey, it shuts people up. There's your moment. You've had it.
Does it though?
Those bits.
Or does it shout? Does it lead to the big cry of going, "Oh, we're going to get Tom Cruise as Iron Man later on"? I think anything you do here is suggest. I mean, again, like if you have, and I know they have a plan, but let's say they have a plan, and in that plan, there are X amount of surprises that are going to come in movies down the line. But this is where you could do it, but they don't need to do it now. Like this is movie 3 of this phase, and it's arguable that it's probably not even movie 3 of this phase because Black Widow's probably still the end of last phase. So really, it's probably only Last Spider-Man, Eternals, and this are the only movies this phase so far. You don't need to give away Jack. Oh yeah, okay. But again, like you don't need to give away anything at this point. I mean, and I think this movie gives away a lot, but I think we need some patience here. I think that's what we need to learn. We need to learn some patience. We don't want everything this early. We want that stuff to come later. And when I say we, I mean me. And so that's why it really worked for me. I want to be teased and tantalized, but teased and tantalized in the long term, not having too much stuff thrown in. But as I say, I'm not saying like I think it's an atrocious point. And I think, do you know what? I think a lot of the audience would have really liked what you said, but I think there's a danger with that. I think in 5 or 6 movies' time, or let's be honest, probably in 10 movies' time, they're going to want to do something that's going to make the audience go, "Oh!" If you're doing things like that now, they ain't going to be in 10 movies' time, or you're going to have to do ridiculous shit to make them do that. So yeah, I think this was a good pacing for the Marvel universe. Bearing in mind we will touch on some more stuff in a minute, but yeah, and to be honest, I wanted that paint universe. That looked bloody brilliant. I want to be in the paint universe.
Obviously, we do see multiverse Wanda with her because it goes on about her waking up in a nightmare. She's with the kids.
Well, there's a kind of a plot point thrown out here, isn't there? And I guess to put in why America Chavez is important. America Chavez can move between the multiverse. You said it earlier. There's like a star portal that she kind of opens up. Now, one of the parts of it is she doesn't know how to open it. She just knows that when she's really afraid, it kind of triggers. But why she is so desired by Wanda, and I guess why she will potentially be a very important part of all of the stories to come, is she can go through the multiverse other people can't. So we've established that Wanda is quite powerful. Wanda can't follow them because they're going, as I say, through the multiverse. However, there is something that is in the Darkhold, which is the dark that they've got, which allows someone to potentially possess someone from another part of the multiverse. So they can go into another version of themselves, effectively through dreams and nightmares. And I think it is probably worth clarifying at this point, and we will come back to it later, but Wanda's massive motivation here is, in WandaVision, she had kids, albeit imaginary kids, but when that kind of world dissipated into nothing, her kids disappeared. So what you have here is you have a grieving mother, I guess is a way to describe it, who now understands that there's a multiverse, and in that multiverse are multiple versions of her kids, and that is her drive here. She wants to go to a universe where she can go and live with those kids that she lost.
Though, my little logic hole in this one: if the kids were made up on Earth, are they not going to be figments of her imagination on these other multiverses?
On some of them, I imagine, on some of them there'll be dogs. That's the idea of the multiverse. There's everything. So there are as many universes or as many multiverses where they are real kids. And notable by his absence throughout the film is Vision. So in WandaVision, they are together, and it is the product of the two of them. But let's be honest, the product of her of her magic. But in the bits that we see of a universe with the kids, we don't see a dad. So it quite probably isn't Vision, and they probably are real kids and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, again, that's the beauty of the multiverse, isn't it? Is that pretty much you can go anything. And yeah, as I say, there'll probably be some universes where it's almost exactly the same as it was, but she's looking for one where them kids are real.
Yeah. This is another point where, again, am I looking for too much fan service, but would have been in a perfect place for a cameo to have at the window Agatha.
Yeah, I must admit, I get very, very touchy on fan service, but I was hoping for a sneaky somewhere in it and some of this part. An Agatha cameo, and I do think they missed a small trick by it. No way would it negatively impact my feelings on the movie, but I think I'd have enjoyed it very much if we'd have had an Agatha there. Yeah,
just Agatha like through the window or something like that. Just would have been, because obviously we are getting an Agatha TV series, aren't we? So
yeah, and but the thing is, I wonder whether that's why they didn't. Because I wonder whether they kind of went, okay, like she's getting her own TV series. Let's have her back then, and we can do whatever it is we're going to do with her. But yeah, I think it would have been a deliciously beautiful cameo if we'd have got it.
Yeah. Do love how there's so much of a difference between the two Wandas, yet they are still Wanda. With how she deals with the kids and stuff, and the fact that the kids get freaked out by possessed version of Wanda because she doesn't seem to be able to talk or communicate with the kids in the same way that she did with her own when it was in WandaVision.
So like when we get to this bit, this is we've said it a few times, and certainly I haven't seen anyone talk about this movie without saying there's lots of Sam Raimi in this movie. The possession of Wanda is the most Sam Raimi part of this movie. This is taking every single camera technique I think he used in any of the Evil Deads, and a lot from Drag Me to Hell. But this was a masterpiece moment for me. Bearing in mind it's stuff he's done before, but the actual possession happens. She's at the sink, isn't she, doing washing up?
Yeah.
Another reason why I won't do washing up, because I've always said to the missus, an evil persona will possess me if I ever do washing up. But you get kind of like the camera sort of thrusting in, very Evil Dead. Like you know that the Wanda is coming for her, and there's lots of just quick cuts, camera moments where you kind of getting this eerie bit build up. The sounds kicking in, like the Danny Elfman soundtrack is kicking in. And then you get the moment where the possession happens, and again, it is just a slight turn to the camera and the way she looks at the camera. Oh, like chef's kiss on acting for this. You just go brilliant. And again, like one of the things that is done so well in this, you say about how she interacts with the children, and so in WandaVision, the kids love her and she loves the kids, and even in her dream sequences, and it's probably worth touching on, they establish a plot point that dreams are actually keys to you getting to the other multiverse. But in her dream sequences, she's always got this good relationship with the kids. But when she actually takes possession of this universe's Wanda, you're right, she can't interact with the kids. But again, smart. This is simple but smart writing, and she can't because she's not Wanda anymore. Yeah. She's crossed the line. Like, her obsession of finding her kids has made her into someone who could no longer interact with those kids. So actually, and again, there's still a lot of movie to go now, but you already realise that her ultimate goal will always fail, because even if she does achieve it, those kids won't love her. And they do pick up on this plot point later of going, for you to get what you want, a Wanda, another you is going to have to lose out. And, you know, like by that point, she's going, I don't give a shit anymore. It's all about me. And again, it's the villains are at their best when you can believe in why they're doing what they're doing. And I think you start off on her story going, if I had kids and I liked them and I lost them, I would probably try and do everything in my power to get them back. But that path to get them back might lead me to make decisions that I wouldn't normally make. And then we get to those character moments where you go, sometimes when you cross a line, can you come back? Yeah. And I'll kind of leave that bit there because I kind of want to pick up on that again when we get towards the end of the movie and our final thoughts on it, because I think this sort of stuff is what makes it Wanda's movie for me.
Yeah. At the same point when she's not in the multiverse and she's in the normal verse, she's kidnapped Wong and taken him up some evil mountain because the Death Ult is a copy to the original true Death Cold, where it's a giant fucking shrine to her.
It's you know, like when you talk about like fan service, like I like a bit of comic book fan service as well. I like a nod to that as well. And that mountain they go up, Wundagore Mountain, that is hugely significant in most of the comic book history of Wanda. There are other characters that are attached to that aren't in the Marvel universe. I'm going to say yet. I don't know whether they ever will be, but it's not because of the Darkhold and all this sort of stuff. But I think it was just nice for them to go, all right, comic book fans, we're probably never going to use this plot line, but the mountain's there,
yeah. The one thing I do love in this, which is a big fuck you to lots of America and lots of other parts of the world, Chavez, all the way through, has a Pride rainbow badge on because she's a daughter of two mothers. And I hope that every fucking backwards bunch of Egypts that, you know, think that it's punishable with death for, you know, just letting people be them, have to force to see this and just enjoy it. Because yes, there are gay people.
I'm going M because you know, I sort of said about like the travel through the multiverse. The big thing we're going to come to. This is the third thing where, and I'm going to be really honest here. I'm with you, and I'd love to think that we live in a world where lots of people went, I'm really enjoying this. Oh my god, I didn't realise I'm enjoying something with lesbians in it. I will rethink my worldview. Unfortunately, my experience of Twitter post this movie, I've seen less of that and more of oh fucking here we fucking go. Here's the woke MCU, the MCU, which seems to be a big Twitter campaign about Stop making our white male heroes women. Stop putting women in these movies and things like that. And I think that audience that we hope that it might make them stop being as much of a wanker as they are, they're beyond hope at this point, Chris. But I still think you are spot on. I think it's it's pulled straight from the comic book origin. So it's not like someone just went, oh, we'll put that in, we'll be woke and all that shit that people say. The thing that I think is great about having this in the movie is that, yeah, you're not going to change a twat's mind probably, but it's that, why wouldn't it be this? Because this is the world we live in. Now, bearing in mind I'm talking about the multiverse, but this is the world we live in. And these movies should represent the world we live in. And why wouldn't we want it to? So yes, I'm glad they didn't change that part of it. But I do think, unfortunately, when I say unfortunately, probably fortunately, I hope that slice of the audience, that bigoted twat slice of the audience, rejects Marvel movies and goes on their merry way. Because I, for one, am sick of hearing them talk shit about it based off of stuff like this. Have a dig at the movie if you don't like it. Have a dig at the movie if you don't think it was good for a writing purpose, a character purpose. Don't have a dig at it because you are bigoted against anything. And then I say about the MCU. The MCU is the thing that I'm seeing the most. But I'm sure there's many pockets of like anti-female characters in it, anti-characters of any race that isn't a white male, and again, anti any sexuality. I'm sure all of those are out there. You're allowed to watch what you want, but if you don't like it because this is portraying what the world is actually like, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
Thus ends the sermon of fuck off. Like,
which is why part of me, because I know this is going a little bit to the other side, but I'm really hoping that we get a proper adaptation with Harley Quinn, with her now, as is canon, where her and Poison Ivy are in a relationship, not her and Joker. And not to go back on a tirade that I've done before about why I can't stand the whole Joker, Harley Quinn, Suicide Squad, oh, isn't that a perfect relationship thing? But I want them to go down that route with Margot Robbie and just sort of put that in some cunt's face and go, look, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because, fuck you. That's my soapbox.
That's
but
nice,
yeah,
though,
no.
isn't it? I mean, like, the thing is, I mean, like, that's some of the power of, it's the power of storytelling in any medium, isn't it? But comic books, comic book movies, this isn't agenda driven. Like, I don't feel like when I come out of this movie, I didn't go, oh well, they, and I say they, like Raimi or any of the writers or anything like that. I didn't feel like the whole agenda of this movie was to promote any sexuality, women are better than men, anything like that. I think it was just a good representation of the world we live in. And that's what these stories should be, isn't it? They really should embrace because otherwise, what the fuck? Like, and I'm going to end my sermon after one last little bit of going, any dickhead out there who moans about the MCU, they're showing too many female characters, they're appropriating white male characters into these things. Look, fuckers, you've had enough. You've had 80 years of white male characters. The world can suffer not every hero being white and male. That ends my sermon.
So we then see that they go to see their version of Strange in this multiverse.
They go to try and find a white male hero. and
he's dead.
He's dead. There's a lovely statue of him, though, isn't there? That's nice.
And we see that the Sorcerer Supreme is our boy from the original Doctor Strange film. And I forgot his fucking name.
Mordo. Baron Mordo.
Mordo, yes. There we go. For some reason I was thinking Mordor, and I was like, it's not Mordor.
that's the Lord of the Rings stuff. We don't want to cross the genres into that. And again, like I think there was a logic point for me here, and again, like, do what you want. It's the multiverse, but
Yeah,
actually, in a multiverse, I imagine there would be a lot where Mordo would be, because they were, as established in the first movie, like he was almost the person expected to take over the throne, wasn't he? And I think
yeah,
certainly in his own mind, he expected to take over the throne. So actually, in a lot of universes where Strange would die, yes, you would expect Mordo to probably take up the mantle, or in a lot of universes, actually get the mantle rather than Strange.
yeah. And he tells us all about the Deathhold, the Illuminati, and everything that's different in his universe than what's in our multiverse. We see our heroes in peril as they're encased in these.
Well, this, before they got imprisoned, like I had a sort of realization, because he gets them by drugging their tea, doesn't he? And I drink a lot of tea because I am an English stereotype, and now I feel like I need people to test my tea beforehand to make sure that I'm not trying to be imprisoned and put in a multiverse cell.
um, we then get them go off to meet the Illuminati,
And
which
he meets this universe's Rachel McAdams as well, doesn't he? And you know,
yes,
like a lot, I guess, his journey and his story. Because we said earlier on in the movie, he sees her and she's remarried, or remarried. She's married, so she's not remarrying. And
yeah,
like a bit of this is about him trying to help America, him trying to kind of push forward this story, but I guess him dealing with his place in the world, and maybe a lost love. And so getting introduced to one from another universe helps that story along quite significantly.
yeah, and he's still a dick even in that universe too.
And
uh,
again, very one of the things that that I when I go back to Doctor Strange 1, and and I don't dislike it. I think it's a very good movie. But one of the things that holds it back is that um, he is a dick, and I think he should be a dick. I think they did really good to kind of establish the dickish side of him, because certainly early on in the origin, he is a dick. That's how he gets to where
yeah,
he is. And I kind of want to see that journey, but he isn't the most likable of them, I don't think. And sometimes that is, when I compare him to Thor. You know, Thor's a thoroughly fun fella, isn't he? And stuff like that.
yeah,
Like, if I'm going for a pint with either one of them, I was going to say I'd go with Thor, but actually, Doctor Strange can just keep magicking the drinks up, as he showed in another movie. But yeah, I mean, like, he's not the dashing hero with this, is he? He's a flawed character, and as you say, it's nice to know that Doctor Strange in other universes are dickbags as well.
yes. Um, Here is where we get the cameos section with the Illuminati.
So before we go to the cameos, what
Yeah,
did you know about this beforehand? So
I
did
knew Patrick Stewart
yeah,
was going to be there somewhere because he's the one voice that they had in that
yeah,
trailer that they put at the end of Spider-Man.
yeah, yeah,
That's the only one I knew. It turns out that if I'd have seen the teaser trailer that went up the week before, the others were pretty much spoiled because you see the Captain's shield and
yeah.
uh, you see a
You see the
certain Black
Captain
Bolt as well.
Marvel kind of off in the background of a shot,
Yeah,
which for a few days people were saying was Tom Cruise Iron Man, until someone actually got a still of it and blew it up
yeah.
and went, "That isn't Tom Cruise Iron Man." I do wonder, because I knew all of this. That video went onto Twitter, or a video from a particular part of this went onto Twitter, and I think I saw it before I saw the many people warning, "Don't go on Twitter for a few days, everything's spoiled." And I did wonder,
Yeah.
how did the reveals of the Illuminati, as the term that we will use, because it's a term that I think will be used from and is in the movie, how did those initial reveals, go for you? Did you get your ooh ah moment out of the Marvel multiverse with this?
Not massively. Seeing Peggy, I liked. Um, not knowing who Black Bolt was, because he's not a character that I've seen come up in stuff before. Though now, after seeing this, now reading other bits that I've read recently, especially like World War Hulk, I now know who
Yes,
he is.
yes. Oh god,
It's
there's
one
a
of those.
cracking part. There's a cracking bit with him in World War Hulk as well, isn't there?
Yeah, which is these are bits I'm like, now I know who this guy is.
Yeah, yeah,
As I've said before, with especially in films, Fantastic Four does not interest me because they keep seeming to fuck it up. So
I know what you
having
mean.
matey boy from Office being Reed Richards, I'm like, hopefully they don't fuck it this time. And obviously you have Captain Marvel's mate as Captain Marvel, which is like, oh, so we're just getting the alternative version. It seemed with those two, with Captain Marvel and Thingy, that was more. This is an episode of What If.
Yeah, yeah.
In this multiverse, this is What If multiverse.
But again, I mean, I guess that effectively that's what If is, isn't it? What If is the multiverse? Yeah. Like, so in this bit, there is the chunkiest, stompiest bit of fan service that I think they do in this whole movie that every fibre of my being wants to hate, but I bloody love it. And that's when Professor X comes in his 90s cartoon hovering wheelchair, and you get the 90s cartoon theme tune playing in the background. And in another universe, I'd fucking hate this. I loved it. I loved that bit. That was my favourite part of all this reveal. So yeah, I had seen that John Krasinski's in it as Mr. Fantastic, and I think that was probably significant on two levels, because lots of people have been clamoring for him to be Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four movie, but no casting had been announced. So for that, and a significant character, a Fantastic Four character being in there, I think that was one of their big swerve or their big reveal moments. Black Bolt, well, he was from the absolutely appalling Inhumans TV show, which I think I made 2 episodes in, and I had no desire ever to see him in anything ever again. The Captain Marvel, fine, and Peggy, I'm with you on Peggy. I like Peggy, and I like to see more of Peggy. I'll be honest though, I don't want to see Captain Carter Peggy. I want to see Agent Carter Peggy.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
This Peggy was, and again, I know it's a multiverse and it's a thing, but even when she was Captain Carter or Captain Britain or whatever they were calling her in What If, it was still played as if she was still normal Peggy, but with the shield.
Yeah.
Whereas this was just a little bit of a dick complex on her, but I suppose that's similar to Captain America. He was a bit of a dick. So,
well, I would say, and this is going to be a strange sentence to say, hold that dick complex thought for a minute. I'm coming back to that because I think you're right, but I think that was done deliberately, and I really do think that was done deliberately. But you said it there, the What If stuff. Now, like, I watched that What If cartoon, and I did not like it. I think I've made my thoughts abundantly clear on that. And when we saw some of the trailer stuff, I really feared that this was going to be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Let's live action a load of stuff from the What If season that I didn't like. And I was quite pleased that we didn't get a lot from that. And again, I think Captain Carter as a concept is probably the main thing that really bleeds from What If. And I'm not saying they're the same one, but that idea bleeds from that into here. We love wrestling, don't we? Now,
we do.
A wrestling debut, it can be an amazing thing and can make someone's career and can be some of the most amazing moments in wrestling. A wrestling debut that is a bit of a damp squib can also very massively negatively impact someone's career for many years. And I really liked what they did here, but I'm not so naive nor so convinced that it was the best way, because I think certainly with the introduction of Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, if he is going to be the Mr. Fantastic, and I have seen a lot of criticism of this, and I think there is some validity to this, of going, you would introduce him strong, wouldn't you? But this feels like they introduced him and he lost his first match. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether long term that's the smartest thing, unless he ain't coming
But
back for Mr. Fantastic. Right.
though you say that, everyone jobbed to Wanda. The only ones that got their moments were the girls, which again, that's probably, you know, pissing in the chips of all the dickheads that they didn't
Oh God,
like.
no, you're
Got
spot on.
fucked up fucking massively quickly,
Yep.
as did Mr. Fantastic, and it's Captain Marvel and
Now,
Captain Carter that have their bit of a competition.
interestingly enough, I watched this with my better half, and she said at the end of the movie she really liked the movie. Do you know the one thing that pissed her off was that scene that you just described? Because she actually went the other side of the coin and saying, why didn't they have a fella and a lass at the end? Because she said it did feel. She said to her that bit felt forced, and she said that's actually kind of insulting the other way. Now, I went with my white male head on. I mansplained to her that she was wrong. No, I didn't. That's a joke. I said for me, I feel like sometimes these things, this scene particularly probably did need pushing, but because of that part of the audience that we were talking about, I think sometimes that dickhead audience needs a bit of a slap around the face, and I think that was almost a slap around the face moment. But yeah, I will say that she sort of said, no, do you know what? Like, just let it happen naturally, and she said that felt kind of forced.
See, I think with this one, I can live with this more than I can with the bit in
Avengers
Endgame. Yeah, where it's just, oh look, we're all here together, and you've got fucking Gwyneth Paltrow in the Iron Man suit, and that was forced on there.
But do you know what? But do you know what? I mean, that scene works if you're, and I can't remember exact terminology, but it's not a million miles away from kind of that what you said there, isn't it? Like they made such a verbal exaggeration of that it was almost, look at us, look what we've done. Whereas actually, you know, we said about that, like that the films should be a representation of the world, or in some cases, a representation of the world as we wish it was, because it doesn't have all these wankers in it. And I think in the world, when I'm in the office and 5 women on my team are talking to each other, they don't go, look at us, 5 women talking. They talk, because that's what human beings. So yeah, I nowhere near as clunky for that as me. But yeah, I mean, just like when we're talking about kind of gender politics in these movies, I do think it's kind of bears. The one woman that I watched it with said, yeah, that was a bit shit, that bit.
Yeah, but it said with that, still, you know, the strongest woman wins out anyway, because Wanda fucks them all up.
And you know, it is a quick fight, isn't it? I talk about like kind of Mr. Fantastic getting his debut and getting jobbed out very early. Wanda comes in and Wanda absolutely destroys Black Bolt, absolutely destroys Mr. Fantastic, has a little bit, and I will say a little bit of resistance from Captain Marvel and Captain Carter, but she just fucking destroys these. And from a plot point perspective, again, something where I've seen a lot, where I see a lot of the criticism being driven to is moments like this, and it is very much well, why is Wanda so powerful? Why are like my favorite characters, or why are you introducing these characters and you're just destroying them too quick? You know, when you said about like dickhead mode earlier, this isn't our versions of these characters. They have gone to another universe, and in this other universe, we only know snippets of it, but we know Doctor Strange was a dickbag in it. Although, as we said, we've established his dickbag in most. but there is a degree of arrogance, even in the small moments we see of them, that I think all of them portray. And they establish these guys beat Thanos, albeit with Doctor Strange upholding his end of the bargain. But at this point, and they've got all their Ultron asteroids, they, to a degree, it very much looks like they have won. They are in total control. And I actually think, again, smart for me by Sam Raimi, or certainly landed smartly with me, of going, these are arrogant fucks. And one of the things that is their downfall is, I read a really strong review that Black Bolt's death. Black Bolt's power is his voice, and if he speaks, massive waves of energy come out. And Mr. Fantastic says to Wanda, he can destroy you with his when he opens his mouth. And she says, "What mouth?" He makes a noise. He blows the back of his head out. Very gruesome, very lovely. But I saw a load of criticism of going, well, why would Mr. Fantastic, this really smart person, let Wanda know what his power was to what his weakness was? Because he's arrogant.
Yeah.
Because they think they can beat anyone. And also, let's be honest, that
Mr.
would be
Fantastic
like saying...
even normally is arrogant as fuck.
But that would be like saying, why would he mention to her that Captain Carter's got a shield?
Yeah.
Well, he might do, but I think it's an incredulous thing. But I actually think it was quite smart, because I think they put these in, and when these aren't your heroes, and you are going to see a lot of people in this multiverse, and not all of them are going to be brilliant. Not all of them will be the same. Not all of them, not all of them are going to be nice. Not all of them are going to be as competent. Because ultimately, I presume the end game for this is, like, the heroes that we know and that we follow from our universe, and some from other universes that probably come in, will be the heroes of this. And lots of people will have to be sacrificed along the way. So how do you make your heroes look stronger? Well, one of the ways you do it is by putting comparative ones from other universes and seeing them fail. So I have no problem with this, but it certainly seems to be a point of the story that lots of people do have a problem with.
Yeah.
And also, I was really pleased because it was short. Because I did not want an hour of this fucking movie being taken up by cameo shit. I wanted this story to be told without too much cameo shit.
It's the thing, like you've said there, they come in with such a level of arrogance.
Yeah.
That it's basically being put in their fucking place.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And it also just shows how badass Wanda is. Because the thing is, if we're going on the mega scale of who's the fucking strongest of anything, Wanda and Phoenix are up there at the top end of everything compared to everyone.
And let's be honest, she's at the height of driven and the height of obsession at this point, isn't she? Like, she has gone, like, and again, I'm not necessarily talking about like good and evil, but there is a line and she crossed it. And now that she's crossed it, she is going further and further and further and further and further. And again, being driven by this singular vision. And I think, that almost gives her an advantage. She's not going, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? She's got one thing in mind. She's going, I'm doing this. And in this scene, it is, I'm killing you lot.
Yeah, because you're in my way.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. You're in the way. I need to get through you. I need to get to her. I need to get to America Chavez.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Yeah.
The one scene that I did love, Patrick Stewart in his beautiful turtleneck. Again, throwbacks to 97 cartoon, because he always used to have rock a turtleneck in those bits where he wasn't in his wheelchair.
And so apt that they focused on his neck area, because he gets a lovely gruesome end, doesn't he?
Yep. Head twisted off.
Yeah. And we get a little bit of establishment here, don't we? Because Professor X does what Professor X does, and he kind of goes into the mind of and we keep saying Wanda, but more often than not during this part of the movie, she's been referred to as the Scarlet Witch, isn't it? And I think there's a lot of like establishing stuff here to kind of almost go, Wanda and the Scarlet Witch are the same person, but they're not the same person. And there's a lot of leaning into the Darkhold is the thing that is turned her evil, but she's not really evil. And in this scene, you get to see inside the mindscape, a Wanda that is trapped under rubble. So it's almost going, there's a good part of Wanda here, but the dark part of Wanda is burying her down. And that's what Professor X tries to get at. And again, stuff will come back to it at the end, but I really liked they put this in for a couple of reasons. And also, we got to see Patrick Stewart come to the end that I imagine he'll come to in real life. I'm joking. I don't think he will. God, you imagine if tomorrow he's found with his neck snapped, and I've just said that. I'm going to be prime suspect, aren't I?
Yep. And it's all recorded.
Multiversal me come and found him.
So after we get a chase through the bowels of the building and the sewers as Wanda blows through blast doors, chasing them.
And again, going back to something I said earlier, like she is relentless in her pursuit, and we see it established early. But again, I go back to my Terminator and Michael Myers thing of going,
yeah,
I like this sort of stuff, and I think this is what I want to see. And also during this, because she is relentless in her pursuit, and bearing in mind now, I mean, Strange tried to save Chavez on his own Earth. They got all of the sorcerers and all the sorcerers' apprentices. I'm sure Mickey Mouse is going to come and try and get me for using that term, because and then you go here and you see this Illuminati, which again we said earlier, arrogant, but like Strange is going in there and finding out that these dudes fucked up Thanos, something that he couldn't do. So at this point, Strange is going, we're fucked. Like, we can keep on running, but actually, I think we're a bit screwed here, because she's destroying everything. She's taking out everyone. Like, what are we going to do? And I think it adds to that kind of, and something that comes to, it's building to a plot point, like as all good stories do, but it's building to this shit. How do we do this? And if she gets Chavez, and one of the big concerns, and of course, because she's losing it more and more and more, is that what happens when she gets America Chavez's powers and she can travel to another multiverse? And she does. And she doesn't get on with that Billy and Tommy. So then she goes to another and another. And it's almost like affording her the keys to infinite power to someone who shouldn't be allowed to drive a car right now, let alone have the ability to go kind of all around the multiverse. So the stakes are raising, and I think the peril is raising all the way through. And again, brilliant stuff, Sam Raimi. Well done for actually establishing a peril and following through with it.
Yeah, they go through the trapdoor into where the Book of Ashanti is.
Yeah.
But they fail to get the Book of Ashanti.
Because Wanda again comes along and destroys it, doesn't like all hope is lost now. All hope is lost.
So they then go off to another multiverse where it's desolate and broken. And we then see Wanda leaving Scarlet Witch leaving Wanda and leaving her there in the weird place where the Book of Ashanti was. Just nowhere near her kids, no way probably how to get back or know where she is. That's fine, because she only wanted Billy and Tommy. At this point, we see Wong is tied up and then gets hoofed down the mountain, which was quite fun.
He makes a lovely kind of person in peril, doesn't he? Yeah. If he went back to like the 1930s, it was always ladies in pretty frocks dressed, tied to railway tracks, and Wong is our modern version of that, isn't he?
Yeah. Strange meets another Strange. This one has a wonderful third eye because he is the holder of the Darkhold in his universe. A really cool visual, which this is the one bit that I think of like all of it was probably the bit that was for the 3D more than the 2D,
Yeah.
and I think this is literally the only bit is the music fight where they're throwing imaginary musical
Uh,
notes at each other.
it was brilliant though, wasn't it? I
It is,
loved it.
it is good, and but as I said, I think for me this was the one bit with seeing it both ways. I think this was the one that was just there for the 3D-ness to make it look pretty.
I think why I loved it though is it was different, wasn't it? Like, and I think when
Yeah,
you're playing with the magic side of the universe, I don't really want someone biffing someone on the nose. You know, I see that in all the other movies and things like that. And yeah, I don't know. It really, I didn't go into it going, oh, God, I hope they have a music fight in this because I'd never
yeah.
even thought there would be such a thing. But yeah, really, really went well for me as an action scene. Possibly, I know you said earlier about um, the one-eyed monster, but for me, the music fight was the peak action scene for me.
See, I wouldn't even go into. I'd have put the squash match over the music fight.
Oh, I love the music fight though, but you know, like again, like, we'll often find like
Yeah.
the quirks and stuff. But as I say, I think it was the differentness of it. It was
Hmm.
the not Marvel fight scene, and that's what I like that this movie did. Is it weaved Marvelness into non-Marvelness back into Marvelness, and this was, I think, our first proper action scene that
It
was
was
not
very not
Marvel.
Marvel.
Because even the gruesome one, even the fight against the Illuminati, yeah, we'd never seen one as gruesome as that before. But effectively, you still had a captain throwing a shield and doing marvelly things, and this was not a
Yeah.
marvelly fight. Marvelly things.
So Strange then decides that he needs to go death walking to go and stop Scarlet Witch. So he needs to go back to Earth. But he is Earth Strange.
Yeah.
How's he going to do it?
Dun, dun,
Zombie.
dun. And you know, like I don't know why, because often you see things coming from a mile off, and I'd even seen a trailer with a zombie-esque looking Strange in it. But when they buried him in that roof, I didn't really go, "Oh, he'll be coming back." I the whole way through, I just thought, "Oh God, we're going to get the zombie one from What If in here."
Yeah.
So when they actually did this bit, I went, "I feel a bit dumb, but I really like this." And again, it was speaking of like the Sam Raimi element of it. So by the time by the time our Strange takes over Dead Strange. Oh my God, he looks Evil Deady, doesn't he? He looks, well, I
Yeah.
say Evil Deady, he looks Army of Darkness, Evil Deady. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. I loved him when he first starts doing the magic. And it's like,
Yes.
because yeah, it's all very jolty and the fingers cracking and stuff. And then you get I don't know what they're meant to be, but I'm going to say demons that sort of go,
Okay,
you
I'd
are,
go Demons. Yeah.
sort of attacking him for taking over a corpse because that goes against everything. To then use them as wings
Yep.
so he can fly up to Wanda. This was the bit when, obviously, having seen it originally when we took Will, was like, this is the bit that might get some things of like, demon possessing and zombie, but no, Will fucking loved it. I just thought it was fun, and it was
Yeah.
very, very Evil Dead. It was
Yeah.
Evil Dead silly fun.
Yeah.
And
And what I
I
want, and what I didn't think I'd see, and what I really wanted to see, and God damn, like as ever, we're talking for a long time about this, and no way is this a link to I want to talk about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, but we didn't see like any of this like lean into the horror stuff in that because those didn't really have the opportunity to, did they?
Yeah.
And I think, did I ever think I would see an Evil Dead vibe moment in a Marvel movie? No. So I probably never even conceived that that's what I really wanted. But once I got it, I went, yeah, I wanted this all my life. I just didn't realize it.
Yes. Yes. Very, very happy with this bit. I thought it was fucking awesome. This was the one bit that even first time around when I wasn't as impressed with the film as I was second time around. This was the bit I was like, but that was fucking cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we get them take down Wanda. Do I say take down Wanda? Wanda takes down herself, really. She pulls down Doom Mountain upon herself, matching a metaphor with.
It's kind of that epiphany-esque moment there, isn't there? Of going,
yeah.
Am I the bad guy here? And the answer, I guess, being yes, you are the bad guy
here. Yeah. Obviously, the metaphor of good Wanda being covered in bricks, Wanda then bringing down the mountain and being covered in bricks. Go back. Chavez is there learning at the sorcerer school. Can't really start doing the magic whips yet. Clearly, anyone can do it. Don't need to be born into magic to do it. Clearly.
Well, that dude from Spider-Man could do it. So Ned, he could do it with no practice whatsoever. But
exactly. So yeah, just need one of those rings.
Yeah,
it's all you need. Are we going to go with post credits?
I think so, because I'm actually quite interested to see. Certainly, I'm more interested in one post credit scene than I am another. I'll say, but I think when we kind of wrap up like our feelings on it, I think I want to lean into the post credits anyway, because I think that does actually encompass part of my feelings for this movie. So let's post credit away.
So the first one, I don't know who she is. I don't know if we were meant to know who she is.
For comic book fans, I guess like instantaneously you go ooh, or I say comic book fans. For Doctor Strange comic book fans, instantly you go ooh, and she is called Clea, and she is in the comic books, and we said like a large part of this movie somewhat deals with like his relationship with Rachel McAdam, and the fact that, and you do get a moment, don't you, where pretty much it's established by multiversal Rachel McAdam that as much as maybe he feels like in somewhere in the multiverse this would have worked, that actually probably the truth is nowhere in the multiverse would it have worked, because she will always be her, he will always be him, and there are fundamental differences between it.
Yeah.
But in the comic books, Clea is a big magic user, has a big role, and is Doctor Strange's love. So I think you've kind of then got that to move forward with, if they go down that route, obviously.
And we see that our Doctor Strange now has a magic third winking eye,
which it could be a good winky third eye. It could be a bad winking third eye. Who knows? Mystery. And Clea says pretty much, it felt a bit like kind of Bill and Tedsy for me, where it was just like this shit going down in the multiverse. You're coming with me, and then they do a kind of portal and out they go.
It seems like a magic cut up the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like those. I got what they were trying to do, but I didn't get her, so I know who she was to then get
and
that
do you know what?
importance.
Do you know what? Like, I think it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, this is something that I know, like I've spoken to with people before, of knowing it from the comics is sometimes a blessing, sometimes a curse. Because I'd like them to tell me the story that they're going to tell without me going, "Oh, that's there." Now, I think sometimes people who don't read the comics think that, like, people who say that are being elitist. It's a bit like, "Oh, fucking hell, you and your special knowledge." Do you know what? It's a bit shit knowing who these characters are, because it's actually a lot better to find out. However, counterbalance to that is, I think a lot of people go, well, I don't like it because I don't know who that person is. Well, you find out. That's how a story works, isn't it? Like when you first meet Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, you don't know who the fuck Luke Skywalker and Han Solo are. It's their job to tell you who they are and to get you to enjoy them, regardless of whether there's 70 years worth of comic books around them. So, Marvel stuff, one of the things I think it does very well is I think it pulls in people who have no idea who these characters are, and also more often than not, it does enough to satisfy those people who the surprises might not surprise us so much because it's based off something we've read.
Yeah. Just think that I remember the Thanos one, because Thanos was obviously one of the end credits, wasn't he? I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
remember which film was,
It
but
was the end. It was the end credit of the Avengers.
yeah.
And
I knew who Thanos was. I hadn't read Infinity Gauntlet, so I didn't know the thing, but I knew who Thanos was, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" My Will's mum hadn't read anything; she'd literally just seen the films. Like, I don't know that is. Am I meant to care?
So going back to it was the same better half. Like she's stuck with me through the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. But I remember, like, we watched the end of the Avengers, and I was really surprised because Thanos was a big thing for me. I never thought I'd see an Avengers movie, let alone Thanos in a movie ever. But we walked out the cinema, and I kid you not, she just turned around to me and said, "Why is the Hulk turned purple at the end?" Because no one knew who he was. Like, because he was of no significance to anyone other than it was a cool moment for comic book fans. But when you get to the end of Endgame, everyone on the planet knows who fucking Thanos is now because they did a brilliant job of establishing who that was through those movies. And you didn't need to read, and I say you didn't need to read the comics, I still say read the comics because they're really good. But they did such a good job of establishing who it is because they told that story well. And you could have Googled it straight afterwards and read a load about him, but don't. Like, let them tell their story at the pace they are. They've proved to us that they can tell really good long form stories over multiple movies.
Yeah, because that's the thing. As I said, I knew who Thanos was from other bits, but that as a visual for me was like, oh fuck, we're getting Thanos. Fuck
Yeah, and that was me as well. I walked out of that movie, and I liked the Avengers. Like, I don't want to say that it was all, but that post-credit scene was like, fuck yes, I can't believe they're doing this. Now, I must admit, still at the time, I was still dubious that we'd get that far because I thought the bubble might burst and we still might never get to see that kind of play out. But yeah, a real fuck yeah moment for me. But it was a tease because most people wouldn't have known. But like, this is why I give them such a pat on the back. They took this character that no one knew, and now everyone on the planet knows who he is. Brilliant, well done.
Yeah.
Pat on the back.
It's the thing,
and that's hopefully what they do with Clear and any characters they've introduced in this.
Well, it's the thing is, I didn't know. I know this is getting a bit of a tangent here, but I didn't know Guardians.
Yes, another brilliant example.
Never had anything to do with or ever seen. Yeah. Went into the film, and within the first half an hour, they've given you enough that you know these characters.
Yeah.
So much so that you came out of that film. Most people I know, that was their favorite Marvel film at the time. Was then Guardians after seeing it because it was a fun one, but people were then interested in Drax, in Rocket, in Groot, in Star. And no one had ever fucking heard of them before, but they're then people's favourite characters. So this thing, I will definitely give them time to do something with it and see where they go. It was one of those I was like, I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
What are we doing? So it didn't have that oh fuck moment like Thanos did.
So like, I'm going to skip ahead, and not ahead in the movie, but I'm going to skip ahead to something because I think it really fits in with what you've just said there, and I guess what we're talking about. I presume to anyone that's watching, this has come across. I bloody loved this movie. I really, really love this movie. This movie is in my top 5 Marvel movies, and it's for partly what you said, what you were just talking about then. Is there are a few things that made it a really strong Marvel movie for me, but a lot of it was this focused on our characters. Throughout the course of this movie, America Chavez, I think, is introduced and feels important. Now, there are a little couple of issues here and there of going, she is still a bit kind of quippy Disney, but I found her less annoying quippy Disney than some of the quippy Disney that they do. So you establish her and you plonk her in it. But at the same time, you move forward the story of Wanda and you move forward the story of Doctor Strange. And again, this kind of teaser at the end with Clear coming in. I want to see Doctor Strange 3. I want to see the Wanda movie. I would happily watch an America Chavez movie after this. I'd probably even like a bit of a Wong movie. And I think this is when I think Marvel movies are particularly strong, when they give me enough of the wider story that I'm intrigued with where they might go, but they make me want to watch more of these characters. And that is what I think they did terrifically for me in this. Is when I come out of Doctor Strange 1, I went, that's fine, it's a decent movie. I'm not really queuing up. I don't really ever want a Doctor Strange 2 though. I'm happy for him to be in team movies and stuff like that. And if there was a Doctor Strange 2, which there is, which we're now talking about, I'd probably go along because it will further the wider story, but that's about it. I hope I would dream that Doctor Strange 3 has moved right up the release schedule now, and we get that soon. That's how strong I found the portrayal of it in this of it, him and the new characters, and how they moved ahead the wider story, at a lovely pace for me. Now, weirdly enough, that's some of the big criticisms I've seen of it, of people going, didn't move the story on, did it? Where's the big bad? Where was Kang? Where's the villain? Where's this? Where's that? And I go, I really like that this gave us some important moving forward, but that's it. And most of the focus was on the characters that I'd paid my money to go and see.
Yeah, so this is the thing. I come out of this first time I've seen it. I think my problem with it when I saw it first time around was I was expecting too much in the fan service spoiler cameo bits.
Yeah.
Because I was wanting Deadpool. I was wanting. Maybe I wanted too much for it to be there, and it's not there to literally just be. Well, here's all your favorites. Fuck this. We're trying to tell a story, but here's all this shit that you just want to see.
And you know, we said it earlier. I think there's some play in that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think for the you can do that. I just, history has taught us now that there's probably going to be 25 movies to come, isn't there? Like in this long story, at least. And I think, you know, like, I think you do need to drip feed some of these, but I do think there's a compelling case for going, well, you said it's the multiverse, so show me all those characters that I want to see. So I'm not saying people are wrong for that. I just think that actually we've got to remember that this was Doctor Strange Wonder and the Multiverse of Madness. It wasn't the multiverse
with madness. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, there's like, I mean, there's the Illuminati bit, which was there. I mean, it could have just had two tiny ones that non-speaking roles just there would have just popped it that little bit, like having Agatha in the window, or when they were going through the multiverses, having something there.
Well, and I think, I mean, not that like kind of review aggregators and things like that are necessarily the thing to go by, but I think you're right. So, like, I think if there was a 2 seconds of Deadpool, I reckon you could add a point onto its average out of 10, because I think that would have made a significant difference for a large portion of the audience.
Yeah.
Again, something though that I pat it on the back for, of going, didn't go for the cheap heat. He had an idea, he had a story, they littered it in. But I keep saying it worked for me, and I understand that a lot of the audience are more probably interested in the wider story than that. But yeah, as I say, I think there's a compelling case for having a few more cameos and a few more bits. But I loved that it didn't. I went into it really worried that I was going to see the multiverse and everything was going to be, and I was even more worried once I got it teased that John Krasinski was in it, and I thought, no way are they bringing him in, and this ain't, at least I thought, when they're introduced, oh fucking hell! And I like the Fantastic Four, and I'm looking forward to the Fantastic Four movie. But I didn't want this to be then for the last hour. It's all about him. So when he's introduced, he's dead within about 3 minutes. I'm just like, thank you, movie, for not diverting all the attention away from the characters that you've done so well establishing, and the story that you've done so well of establishing to this point.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, on a second viewing, knowing that I'm not getting these things that I thought I was going to get, and actually taking it for what it is, I enjoyed it much better. It's not top 5 for me. I don't hold it as high as you do, but yeah, it is much better on second view when you go in not having the and where's my fluffing, where's the
yeah.
all the ooh bits for me. Though the one cameo that we haven't spoken about is in the final post. Well, it's in the normal film and in the final post credits, because it wouldn't be a Sam Raimi film if Bruce Campbell wasn't about. I get why he's here because he's always in Sam Raimi films. I'm not sure how effective it was to just have him there punch himself in the normal film and then at the end shouting, "It's over!" But then again, at the same point, it reminded me of I can't remember which film it was, but it was one that Captain America was the final end credits.
Yeah,
and he's in a classroom, and he goes,
yeah,
"What were you
I
expecting?"
can't remember what one it was. Yeah, I can't remember what one it was, but yes, I do remember that one. I hated it. There's one thing I hate about this movie. It's that not necessarily that it was a closing credits. I know he's in his movies, and I love Bruce Campbell, and I love Ash.
And I love Bubba
hated
Hotep.
I hated this in it because
It was
it
forced.
just felt so forced and so awkward and so out of touch with, like one of the things, again, I'm saying I love it. Like, I love what Sam Raimi brought to it. I love that Sam Raimi's fingers, DNA's all over this movie, and he brings in the horror elements. What makes it top 5 for me is that it has those elements from other genres in it. But my God, I didn't need that. And it just felt like it was awkward. And not because of the quality of the acting or anything like that. It just felt massively shoehorned in at a time when I didn't need something like that massively shoehorned in. And I don't even think it was effective because I don't think it was funny enough. And I don't think it had enough ooh-ah to it. Do you know what? I'd have been happy if he just walked past him in the street. I think then you could have gone, fuck. Or if you walk, what you said about Agatha being in a window. If when they're in Earth, I think it's 838, when they're in Earth 838 and they just walk past, like, I don't know, a shop, a supermarket, and you see kind of Ash in the supermarket holding a chainsaw or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have worked for me, but no. It's the one thing that I actually would legit say I hated because I just went, oh, don't. Like, it just felt a bit crap. And it, like I say, everything else had felt at least the attempt of being good. And I'm not saying all the acting was perfect. I'm not saying all the scripting was perfect. I'm not even saying all the pacing was perfect. We said during this, I think there's some beats where I know that it would have alienated or not been so good for parts of the audience. There's some things they could have done differently. But this is the thing that I go, if you gave me the scissors, this would be my first cut out of the movie, and I would happily leave that on the cutting room floor.
See, it's the thing. It would have been all right if it had just been hey, you need to pay for that. And that was it. Just him being the cart man.
Yeah.
And that was it. But there's the whole him like being a dick. Sort of, oh, you've stolen that from the museum. And then punching himself. And it was like,
yeah.
Ugh. And,
yeah,
I know there is a lot of people that do watch a lot of like the Evil Dead stuff and the Ash TV show, so he has got a wide fan base and knowledge. But at the same point, my boy doesn't know who the fuck Ash is or Bruce Campbell is.
Yeah, it's gonna fall. It's gonna fall on. It's going to fall short for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people would have walked away and went, "Why was that random scene in there? That dude with the car?" Because again, it wasn't like funny or didn't push the story forward and stuff like that. And yeah, because I think you're right. I think as much as Evil Dead has a very loyal fan base and a sizable one, it ain't the Marvel fan base. Like we've not had an Evil Dead movie that's made $1 billion yet, have we? And we probably never will, sadly.
So, as we've both said, we both enjoyed it. You much more than me. Where do you think we're going next out of this, or do you think we're going to get much out of this? Because I would say, I think Wanda disappears for a bit, but I can see her coming back as a very powerful Scarlet Witch.
I have a question for you on that. A very powerful Scarlet Witch or a very powerful Wanda? And by that I mean a very powerful evil character or a very powerful good character?
I think we get evil. I think that she will be corrupted into under someone to then be evil, but then take over. Is what I would go with.
So you know where, and again, I'm gonna go about why I bloody love it again. It's things like that I bloody love about this, because for me, could go either way and could go both of those ways. I think that's how strong a job they did on it. And you said about like that kind of, you see her crushed in the mind in that small pit, and then you see her crushed in Wondergore Mountain in the big, in like the actual kind of real world version of it.
Yeah.
And you see that you could argue that, was she really doing any of the bad things? Because was it the Darkhold corrupting her, or was it actually her? And putting in there's a little trapped good Wanda in there. I think it allows them to go any way they want with it, and also I think allows them to go both ways. So comes back, bit bad, redemption story, or comes back good, and then we get the next stage of the Breaking Bad story for her. Brilliant. I don't know which way they'll go, because I think there are multiple ways they can go, and I hope that the writers that get her next or move that part of the story on next take this ball that they've been given and run with it, because what a great ball to run with.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I just hope that she's not just chucked into someone else's stuff for the sake of being chucked in. I just hope that they are doing something.
Yeah.
Wonder-centric.
And like on the release schedule, there is no Wonder movie that I know of in it. There is no Doctor Strange 3 on the schedule, but we know, at some point, probably later this year, there'll be a kind of new poster that comes out that says releasing in 2026 or whatever year they'll be announcing. Yeah. And these sort of things could actually appear on the slate. But you sort of say about what comes next. So yeah, the Wonder stuff, really interested to see what comes next. And by the same token, really interested to see what is next for Doctor Strange. Like, not only the fact that he's now off with Clea, and again from a comic book side of it, going, this is establishment love story, but the Third Eye stuff. Again, we've now got a Doctor Strange that we go, is he corrupt? Has he got a third eye? Will he go bad? Yeah. That's the sort of stuff I want. Don't get me wrong, I love that Captain America was Captain America and did all good things all the time. But I do want my heroes to have some inner turmoil and peril as well. And I think having two of our key biggies here coming out of this movie going, this might not work out well for the rest of us, because both of these might be like bad guys or evil after this. Really interesting. And of course, he might still be good. He might just have a third eye.
It might have a little bit of the darkness in him, but still overall. But this is the thing. Obviously, I'm reading lots of Strange recently, even in newer stuff where he's one of the most powerful, magicians in all of existence ever. Still an arrogant cunt.
Yeah.
Still very self-centered.
Yeah.
And a bit of a dick.
Yep.
You can use that as his third eye being a bit evil on him.
Yeah.
To push forward the dickheadness and keep him in tone with what he is now.
Well, and I think like I say, like stepping forward again, you've got like the really interesting thing of America Chavez. Now I don't know where she is used next. I actually think she'll be used more. I think she is going to be a bit of a key element, because we've introduced that there is a risk to her existing. She is able to be, I don't say manipulated, but when powerful evil people find out that she exists, they're going to want to get at her. And so again, you've got that compelling side of it. And I say even more so, I'm just quite interested to see her again in another movie, because I thought it was a really well established, interesting character. And I'm going to lightly touch on something here. So we were talking about Thanos and like his cameo at the end of Avengers 4 and Avengers, sorry. One of the things that again I've read as a criticism of this is, where is the peril? Where was Kang? Why doesn't this move the story forward? Or why doesn't it move the story forward significantly? Again, partially maybe because having read comics and thinking I've got a good idea of where they're going with this, I think this will be one of the movies that when we get further down the line, people will go back and they'll go, I see.
I
think this has a massive level of significance to it that people aren't put into it yet.
Yeah, this thing is, I don't think we're gonna see who the major big bad is for a little bit anyway. I think we've got an event film first to come, where I don't know whether it's going to be a new Avengers, where they go and throw in the West Coast Avengers,
or Young Avengers,
or potentially Young Avengers, something like that. Because obviously we know that there's no more Cap, there's no more Iron Man, and obviously of the original cast, the only ones that are still doing stuff is Ruffalo, because obviously he's going to be in She-Hulk.
He's got to pay for his weed. It's expensive. Expensive. Might be legalised in most places where he is, but it's not cheap.
Yeah, and Hemsworth. But isn't he only up until Guardians of Asgard?
I don't know. And again, I mean, I think the truth of it is that there probably are details out there about contracts, and nothing's to stop any of them re-signing and doing more movies.
Yeah.
But these movies have made them the global megastars, and I think probably what's more to stop them is Disney going, I know we've got a lot of money, and I know we make a lot of money, but we can't really afford to pay these people like probably 100 million a movie, which is probably what they could charge at that point.
Yeah, because this thing. I think the 4 story is that obviously we've got Love and Thunder coming next. That's going into Guardians 3, which is the end of Guardians. Because then
say such things.
Guardians 3 or Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Christmas special, which I think is going to be quite interesting.
I've got my fingers crossed that this is either going to be brilliant, or if it's not brilliant, it's a Star Wars level of Christmas special bad.
Yeah. And then they're done. None of them are back for anything else. So, the few that are still there from the first run, the only ones we're going to have left are really Wanda and Strange.
Yeah.
And because obviously,
and they're both evil as fuck now, as we're trying to establish in this movie. Yeah.
So, who are going to be our heroes coming out of it? Are we going to get Lady 4 as hanging around and staying on? We don't know, because we don't know what they're doing with Love and Thunder.
Yeah. Shang-Chi, he'll save us all.
Yes, and his awesome array of
rings.
Lions and stuff and rings. Well, his 10 rings is mainly, but the magical island that he had with all those awesome fucking dragon.
Oh, do you know what?
Hybrid.
As an aside, I'm going to watch Shang-Chi again this weekend. I feel like I need a bit of Shang-Chi back in my life. But we are on as I say, we are on the stepping stones, aren't we? We come out the back of this major epic, And you know, like we have seen some of those characters again, like we've got the Black Widow as almost like kind of, I guess, the epilogue. But you're right, this is very much now establishing a new world. There are some crossovers, and I think we've got used to the way that things are done, but they are reinventing the wheel to a degree here, aren't they? And I think it is very important that they give these characters time to become the characters that we love from the MCU. And I will urge anyone who overly criticizes any of the ones that have recently come out or the ones that come out in the next 3 or 4 by going, it's not like it used to be. Where are all the big heroes I know? I urge you to go back in a time machine and ask yourself before you saw Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and the Avengers. If you weren't a comic book fan, you probably in passing heard of Captain America, in passing heard of Iron Man, in passing heard of Thor. But the honest truth is probably you hadn't heard of many of them. You'd never fucking heard of the Avengers, a bar the Hulk existing.
Yeah.
And this is what we are going through again. And again, I go, trust the process here, people. Like, you're not going to get Endgame every movie, because Endgame was the culmination of 20 plus movies to get to that point. And did you enjoy those? Yeah, did you enjoy those 20 plus movies and those 10 years that got you there? And if the answer is yes, this is trying to do the same again. Doesn't mean it'll be as good. Doesn't mean at the end it will resonate as much. But I think they've earned the credit now to go. Let's
see where they go.
Yeah, the last 5 or 6 movies of the cycle that you're in will probably be the biggest and the boldest, but because of all the good stuff they do early doors to get you to that point. I feel like we're coming to an end point, but there's one thing that there's 2 things that I really wanted to bring up before we come to an end point, and one of them I'm going to tiptoe into to a little bit, because again, like, I'm conscious of like having a bit of knowledge of the comic books can sometimes be a detrimental thing, and I don't want to be too spoilery. But one of the things that I was that was, you know, like we talk about the moment. My moment in this movie was when someone used the word incursion. And again, I think in the same way that for all those people who didn't know what Thanos was at the end of Avengers, I think people will come back and go, oh, incursions. And I think in 5 years' time, people will be saying incursions a lot, like they know a lot about incursions, because I think these movies will talk about incursions, and to a degree, although the name is used a lot more, the Illuminati. So I have heard a lot in the kind of the Twitter world, and not just comic book Twitter, but just general gen pop Twitter, should I say, of well, they didn't do well by the Illuminati. You've never fucking heard of the Illuminati, other than the concept of the Illuminati. Yeah. You don't know these from the comic books. You are putting implied knowledge onto it. Let them tell their story, because that name and that concept meant nothing to you until it was indicated, probably by people on news stories that you read before you went into the movie, that the Illuminati are a really big thing in the comic books. Well, do you know what? They might be a really big thing in the movies as well down the line, but not this random one from another universe. But yeah, I think people have got to stop reading like the preamble stories that say, oh, they're going to introduce this, and then people convincing themselves that they've got a vested interest in these characters that they've never seen before and know nothing about. And I think people will enjoy it more. It's almost, don't believe the hype before it's there and let them tell their story. But the big thing I wanted to come back to is, this is a movie review, and I know we focus a lot on the story. So I talk about my love for it, and I do love it. I love it for its Marvelness. I love it for its horrorness. I love it because I think it's the best Sam Raimi thing he's done since The Evil Deads. I love it because I love the way that they leave the universe when they finish the movie. But one thing that I do not want to leave this talking about it. One of the other things I love about it is the performances. I think Cumberbatch plays Dick Strange really well. I think he played Third Eye Evil Strange really well. He played Zombie Strange really well. I think he does a grand job. Wong is Wong, and I think he does a really good acting job. But, you know, like, he is kind of the comic relief. I think, and I can't pronounce the name of the lass who was America Chavez, so I don't want to butcher it. I thought she was a really compelling, charming introduction to me because I don't remember seeing her in anything else. But when we said earlier, this is Wanda's movie, Elizabeth Olsen, take a fucking bow. You were brilliant in this.
Yeah,
Every scene you were in, you held my attention. Now, don't get me wrong. You know I love WandaVision, so I am a bit partial to this already. But one of the reasons why I loved WandaVision is I love her acting and the way she portrays this character, and I think this is as strong, if not stronger, in the acting stakes than what she did in WandaVision.
Yeah, this is their. I think this is very close with WandaVision. But this tops it just because you do have the raw emotion there of the lost parent,
Yeah,
which and the anger, and yeah, easily the best thing about this. Wong, as I said, I love Wong, turn up the stuff.
yeah.
He's fun. Didn't know he's from London or from South London and has like the most English accent. He's like proper geezery.
I'll have to watch an interview of him afterwards because I actually, I really kind of want to hear him with a all right geezer accent. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It's nice to know as well because hopefully at some point in the multiverse we get to meet Cockney Wong, so he gets a day off of actually acting and can just go full Cockney.
And obviously Cumberbatch is always good when he's in stuff. So yeah, everyone is fucking banging in this, and yeah. As a standalone film, if this wasn't of a bigger thing, which is I think that is the big problem with Marvel. It's the same with Star Wars and any franchisey things, because we have now got into the realms of everything has to be interlinked and everything has to be the bigger picture. A lot of it gets lost in the masterness of this one piece. And yeah, this is one of those of when you go in not thinking, but it's got to connect to everything, which is what I did first time round. You see it for what it is and the piece that it is, and go, "Fuck me, this is a masterpiece." Still not my top 5, but yeah, it is awesome.
Have we? And I'm not saying let's do it now because there's probably an episode. We haven't done top 5 Marvel, have we? We did top 5 movies that and specifically Marvel. Specifically, Marvel was out the way, and some other stuff wasn't there. So maybe, it was, just maybe,
it was top 5 non-DCU MCU main timeline films, wasn't it? It was our top 5 films.
I think it might be time, or in the not too distant future, it might be time to maybe visit that because I am curious as to what your top 5 is. And you know what one of mine is now, at the very least. But yeah, like. And also, I think that's something that sometimes happens with the Marvel movies is that they can change rankings, can't they? Like, I've often said that since watching the movie, when I've talked to you and talked to others about it, I've said it's in my top 5 at the moment. But I think naturally, because there's so many movies, sometimes they just slip and slide because as you move away from it, or maybe you catch up on one of them again, you see it like on a Saturday afternoon, and you go, "Oh shit!" Like I'd forgotten how much I love that one, and actually, I would probably tweak that above. But yeah, mate, a show for the future. Our top 5 MCU movies.
Yes, which will be in the pantheon of new bits. So before we leave you this evening, we will be throwing out new episodes.
Yes.
On a regular basis.
Yes.
Break the fourth wall a little bit. We've done a few that are already recorded and just haven't been uploaded.
Yeah.
Yet.
you'll notice like our hair length changing dramatically week on week, and then you'll notice some weeks where we're wearing the same outfit. But we have been recording over the last couple of months, really, haven't we? Like getting some in the can, so to speak. So some of our reference points might be out of date, but effectively it was to allow us to get ahead of it so that we can then go back to, or we can have a regular release schedule of what we would consider new material and continuing new material. But in and around that, we are going to also continue to upload the ones that are from the backlog, let's say. But the plan will be Sunday releases, but we will keep people posted using the Twitters and the Facebook group for specifically about this show and other stuff we're doing. But yes, we're back, baby, and we are going to be in hopefully on your screens regularly.
Yes. Obviously, we have had one of the new form of show and tell tunes. There will be more. I'm just waiting on a new laptop because mine isn't strong enough to run the software on its own for me to do the recording for myself. But that will be fixed soon, and I will be looking at every couple of weeks, maybe an episode. It all depends on releases, because it is going to be album release reviews and things like that. So, you know, I do know when a Rammstein album comes out, I'm not going to do a review of it within the first week because something like that you have to live with. Whereas there's going to be other stuff that I might be able to do on the week of release because it's just that sort of instant thing where you can get a proper read of it. So there will be those, and also live reviews will be chucked up on there as well.
I am. I'm biased because obviously I do this year, but I am looking forward to it. It's nice. I'm a big fan of YouTube. One of the reasons why we do this, I guess, is because I'm a big fan of YouTube. But it'll be lovely to kind of get a bit more of you out into the world on YouTube. The world doesn't have enough of you yet. So.
And what are you coming with?
I've got lots of irons in fires, let's say, and there's lots of plans for things that maybe some returning to some stuff that I used to do. And just anything that I have fun on. I'm not going to be majorly specific about it yet because God, who knows in which order I do things and things like that. But more so, rather than plug-in stuff, and I know like we always want to plug in and subscribe, but because I know this is releasing on or we're releasing it on Sunday, and to give it a bit of a timestamp, what you can do is you can listen and watch us rather than watching football on Sunday, because you don't need to watch football anymore because Everton have stayed in the Premier League.
I so wanted you to go down. Now it's Burnley I want to go down.
If I wasn't such a lazy bastard, I'd have run all the way to Goodison Park myself last night to join in the pitch invasion and get attacked by Patrick Vieira.
See, where I'm just hoping that we don't finish rock bottom, but we've got Spurs and Harry Kane and Son probably put 12 past us.
Yeah, but yeah, as like I know, like we are footy fans. There'll probably be some footy stuff down the line, and we always reference things. But I will say we're not recording this on the night that we stayed in the Premier League, but we are recording it the night after. And no matter how shit the world can be, nothing can bring me down today because I thought we were going down this year, and this has been a massive relief. So not comic book related at all, people, but Jesus, when it's the day after, the worst thing that you think can happen to your sports team ever could happen doesn't happen, and you actually manage to magically get yourself out of the shit you put yourself in. I'm mentioning it.
And one thing I am going to cross plug, just out this weekend, wrestling 20 years ago.
Yep.
We go about the fucking plane ride from hell. Not one for the kids around to listen to. It's got me on it being really fucking sweary.
I imagine you're quite fruity towards the Ric Flairs of this world and the Tommy Dreamers of this world, and most of the
And,
pricks on that plane. And again,
yes,
that some of these people are technically heroes in certain form to us because we followed their careers. But one of the most infamous moments where I think, unfortunately, you see the true side of some of these people, and it's not
yes.
a pleasant experience to. Well, it's not pleasant to know that, but also, even if it's not the true side of them, I think you see that people can
The
be real pricks, can't they?
yeah, and the culture,
Yeah,
and when
yeah.
people whinge about wrestlers these days being on their phones and playing video games, and 20 years
I
ago
so,
they were behaving like this.
yeah,
I'd rather have the kids they've got these days than these
yeah.
dickheads.
Same here, same here. I think anyone who, oh God, we really are tangenting, but probably the sort of stuff we might get into because we have talked about possibly getting some wrestling stuff going.
We have.
But people who show a reverence for, it's not like the old days when the boys were the boys and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, thank God it isn't because they were pricks. And I know some people will have a different opinion to that, but let's be honest, they were pricks, and some of the stuff they were doing was vile and was horrible, and nothing can excuse that. And if you want it to be like that again, then you're probably quite vile and horrible, but you're not willing to admit it to yourself.
And more thoughts similar to that on wrestling 20 years ago.
Well, I tell you what, we've been very vocal with our standpoints on life, the universe, and everything today.
We
Maybe we need
have.
an opinionated, not the right word, but like maybe we need something topical on here where we tackle some of the fruitier subjects. Although I feel like we're on the same page for most of them, so it would just be you
Yeah.
saying it and me going, "Yeah, you're right," or vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah, some
So,
dissenting voices possibly needed.
so until next time, and a more regular schedule. I would tell you what the episode coming up is, but I can't remember it because it was recorded a while ago.
Yeah, I can't either.
But until you get to see it, enjoy, and we will speak to you soon. Oh yeah, and always like, subscribe, ring the bell, YouTubey stuff. I forgot we're on YouTube. Do the YouTubey stuff and comments your thoughts on One Division and I say One Division. I meant Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and also any freebie comic book stuff that you picked up from
Yeah.
earlier. That thing we talked about ages ago. But yeah,
And I know we've said it before, like, but the comments are lovely. Like, if we get comments, it's lovely. It's always nice because you just think someone's taken the time out of their day to write something. And you're right about the free comic book day stuff, but I think just generally, like, we quite like a bit of comics chitter chat. We don't talk here for a couple of hours about a comic book movie if we don't like it, but with things like the comments and things like the Twitter, one of the things that I found very good about Twitter, as much as people say, like it's horrible, there's a really good comic book community out there, and you can get a lot of good recommendations. But if you are interested in getting into comics and you just got into movies and you want to know some things you might want to, well, we're going to have future shows on it. We've got some pre-existing shows on it, but just get in touch with us, and we'll probably say to you, like, what sort of things do you like, what sort of movies do you like, and we'll certainly help people along the way.
yes, and also just watch some of the earlier stuff that's already up on the channel.
Yeah,
Our
yeah,
top fives, where
yeah,
stars, they're all bits on there.
yeah.
So yeah, fill your boots. And until next time, goodbye.